Welcome back, everybody, to the World Championship Series Winter Championship here, held live from Katowice in Poland.
6 out of 10, mate.
6 out of 10?
That's what someone on Twitter said.
It's getting better for every time I say it. Welcome to Desk Control. Katowice.
Katowice.
Do it again.
Katowice.
Roddy, you want to try?
You try it.
No, I'm good.
Oh, good. All right, so we have 2 more games left to bring you on the mainstream, and of course 2 more games on Base Trade TV. So do make sure to check them out. Here is the wonderful bracket that is getting closer and closer towards the middle. Whereas if you are just tuning in, first place gets $35,000, and more importantly, a big slot to the global playoffs, which will be played at the end of the year. The stage right before an opportunity to play on the main stage at BlizzCon. But looking at the bracket, we have games coming up right now. MajOr versus Snute and MajOr versus Hearthstone. Ro32 is going to be covering the Hearthstone versus MajOr game. Dutch boy, of course.
Year of the Dutch Kevins, man. I've said it all along.
And of course, we are going to be looking and concentrating on MajOr versus Snute. So there's a lot of different opinions floating around of how this match is going to go. People saying that MajOr's underrated, that MajOr's going to come in and surprise everyone. There's people that say MajOr can't travel well and is going to underperform here. Where are we?
He's a super interesting player. I mean, we were just talking about it. He's actually surprisingly at the top of the European ladder, which is no small feat, especially playing from Mexico. I mean, I can't imagine how he's accomplished that, but he has. But he is a player who, historically, there have been people that have just mega hyped him up, deservedly so. When in the right condition, he plays really, really well. But he is also very traditionally not traveled well at all, and it's like all over the place. It's like, oh, I don't feel good, I forfeit, or it's I don't feel good, I don't even show up, or it's I don't feel good, 0-6. Like, it's very bad stuff. Whether or not that's going to continue here is not fair to say. It's just that he's a tough guy to bet on, is what I would say, to trust and be like, oh, here's how good he's going to play, here's where he's going to play at. It's all over the place.
Yeah, you guys agree with that, I'm sure.
I tend to agree. I mean, when I look at it, though, I still, you know, I kind of come from the same perspective, because we were talking about this before we went live. Like, MajOr's been very high up. When they finished the ladder qualifier for Europe, he ruined it because he was in the top 16. They're like, well, obviously this guy can't be top 16 Europe. And then right before this tournament even comes up, I think he was like top 5 on European Grandmaster. Like you said, playing from Mexico, you know, the ping is absolutely unreal. If he's in at least a semi-reasonable condition, he should be, I'd say, at least evenly favored against Snute in this matchup, playing without the disadvantages of, you know, continents and oceans away.
In his defense, by the way, it's like something that's not talked about a lot. It's actually really hard to travel from Mexico to anywhere meaningful for StarCraft. Like, if the tournament's in Europe or even continental USA, like it's actually obviously a lot less than USA, but Europe, it's like 4 or 5 flights to get there.
I mean, it's not. Is it kind of Australia distance, right? I mean, perhaps is it travel time wise?
I mean, it's far, but it's not super far. It's not further away than Los Angeles or something.
It's more just that he has to make several flights.
That is
the
true.
options are worse.
Right.
I mean, I think MajOr has a very realistic shot in this series. Not so much because he is good and he is MajOr, and of course, you know, the past hasn't really spoken for him, but we know that he's very good. I'm more curious about Snute, man. Like, Snute is still not the same Snute as he was in Heart of the Swarm, right? And if you talk about emotional players, there is one guy that stands out of the 32 players here, and that is Snute. Like, we saw him at DreamHack Leipzig. It feels like everything is going well for him. He's got a good bracket. He's playing well. He's up 2-0 in a series, and he looks as unhappy as ever. Like, if he wins a game, he often looks even more sad and frustrated than when he loses. Like, and that's just not a good mindset. He really kind of has to snap out of it. Like, I love Jens, and I think he's great, and he's the type of guy that you always want to cheer for. But he's gonna need a better mindset if he wants to have a good run in this tournament. And first run against MajOr, he's already tweeting. You know, it's like, it's really a shame that I go up against MajOr because I feel like we're both round of 16. Like, you know, don't think like that. Focus on, you know, eye on the prize, baby.
So you credit
That's Team Liquid House, man. Those guys.
Yeah. Well, Dario gave us the full scoop earlier and all that jazz.
So you credit his not lack of performance, but not lack of performance to where he used to be to mindset.
Yeah,
definitely.
I really think it's holding him back a little bit. He's beating himself up too much.
Yeah. Even in some of like the qualifier games, I think I recall one match was like he played against Happy, and Happy like plays out this like super elegant late game, and Snute just like tries to ram it in, which is Roach Ravager, like for a third, like a 20-minute game, and just dies like Mass Liberator Ghost, like just very, very, you know, uncharacteristic of the kind of tier that we play Snute up on. So
yeah.
That's
don't
always
know.
been the case, I feel.
Yeah.
It's actually, for him, it even permeates almost outside the match. Like, he'll have a bad tournament or match before a tournament, and that mindset will actually affect his next tournament.
And the thing that is most interesting when you compare to other players here, like Major's not a player where I think mindset almost means anything. You know, if he's feeling good, if he feels good and he's like okay with the setup he's playing on, I think he's going to play fantastic no matter what happens in game 1 or 2. Like, he's going to show his A game. I don't think Snute's going to be the guy that's like, I'm not feeling very confident because, you know, like I lost like, you know, a couple matches, you know, last week or something. He's going to be like, oh, I'm Major, I'm generally, you know, reasonably emotionless, and I'm just focused on my game.
I joke around. I have that like Juanito laugh. You know how he laughs, like, like he's pretty relaxed, and that is a polar opposite compared to Snute.
Yeah,
who I feel
really?
like always puts so much pressure on himself.
I generally think Major's quite a relaxed guy. What was that tournament that he walked out with his DS?
Into Extreme Masters Brazil, Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
When he walks in the stadium, he's still playing his DS. He's just standing there with his white T-shirt, you know, and his sweatpants. He's like, yep, that's Juanito.
The white T-shirt with a little bit of food stain.
I don't want to go there, but it's true.
That's interesting. I'll just feather in the hat of the devil's advocate, I guess. Just a very different experience for me. He was good friends with Greg and a couple people around me. Not necessarily good friends with me, but just in my experience of kind of witnessing him, I would not call him a chill player. He actually gets pretty worked up. At tournaments, and it's actually shown. Like I said, he is a significantly better player than his tournament results show.
So I still think the best result that Major ever had was maybe that WCS America Championship back then, where he took, I think, 3rd place behind
Well,
Vibe.
beat Tasia a couple times in TvT, did he not?
Yeah, I mean, but those were like kind of individual performance. But when it comes to an actual tournament run, I remember him going to the lower bracket very early on, the same tournament where he beat Greg, and I think he made it all the way to top 3, where Zerg was kind of imbalanced, and that's when Scarlet and Vibe were in the final. But I still think that's like his best run ever since then. He has not copied a run like that.
But the thing is every tournament he enters, he could have that next good run.
Yeah.
Right? That's the type of player he really is. Do you think then, you know, the start of this game, the first couple of maps, surely when two players could, you know, if we're going to go with what Jeff said, have that fragile mindset, surely the first couple of games are going to influence the series a lot.
I think it's going to be a very macro-oriented series, though. Like, I feel both these players, like, they have a lot of confidence in their late game. So I kind of feel like they're both thinking, if nothing crazy happens, then this is good for me. So it should create, like, rather slow starts, but then very explosive mid to mid-late games.
I 100% agree. And I think that's what's interesting about these two facing each other. I feel like, again, given kind of the ethos they put out there with how they feel they kind of put out like a shaky persona, I guess. If they were facing like a Haz or something, it'd be like really crazy where it's like, oh god, I'm worried about you getting tilted against this probably inferior player and then throwing the match. But with these two, I 100% agree with Kevin. I think it's going to be very macro based, go the distance, and I feel like it's the best chance for both of them to show us their best play, by the way, I think.
All right, well, it sounds like the players are now ready. Before we go over to the casters, quick predictions from the boys here. Rotty.
3-2 for Juanito.
Okay.
I'm going to go 3-1 for Major.
Okay, thank you, Nate.
Don't know why British came out. I guess I'm the only one up here who's going to vote for Snute, but I think Snute traveled the least distance and should be ready to go.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to go to our next game, Major versus Snute.
Welcome to the casting desk, guys. I'm Valdez. With me today here is the Muslim, and we are going to get into one of the biggest matches here, the round of 32. So happy we've gotten to cast this. It's going to be Major versus Snute. Of course, you got to hear a lot of what the guys on the desk had to say. What are you thinking about this matchup?
This is definitely one of the closest matchups between like two very, very highly skilled players. And one thing that really separates these guys from any foreigner, and this is throughout the last few years, is their mechanics. If you ever have seen Snute play, he's one of the most concise like clickers. When you watch his stream, he has this like techno music, like trancey music going on, but everything just looks as if it was played, as if it was meant to be played. Like very smooth, very precise. Major, on the other hand, he's always been this guy that's very erratic, very fast, but. And I just watched him earlier. He's cleaned it up a lot. He's turned into this guy that's extremely fast still, but the misclicks just aren't there anymore. And I watched him just practice against Lambo, I believe, and he was just absolutely kicking ass all over the shop. So really excited for this match. If you played this in Heart of the Swarm, Snute was arguably the best foreigner that we had. The only player that he had a bad record against during the whole of HOTS was Bunny, I do believe. But now this is a brand new game, and Rotterdam hinted at this, but Snute, he's the kind of guy that even when he was on an absolute tear, winning, say, 10 games, losing 1, that one game, that would be enough to send Snute into overdrive where he's saying, like, oh, I'm going to quit, I hate this game, blah, blah, blah. But now it's not been going as well for him. So that bad mindset that he has where he really beats himself up, maybe it's getting to him a little bit at this point in time.
It possibly could, and I think we should talk about how Snute has gotten here. He gets here off of his 2015 WCS results. He failed to qualify. He dropped 1-3 to Happy and 2-3 to Nurcio. Obviously, two extremely strong players, two favorites to win the entire thing, but he still doesn't get there. So maybe in the mind of Snute, a guy who seems to me as a bit of a perfectionist guy who's like, I should be winning every single thing, and he really nitpicking at his small mistakes. Maybe he's saying, I should have won that one, whatever, and he's coming to this with a bad mindset. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, like Snute's actually one of the nicest guys in the scene. Like even when I've either had lows or when I've had ups, specifically like when I've had ups, so they've been very rare and few and far between. But that being said, Snute's one of the guys that will just message me and be like, hey Ben, I'm really proud, like you're doing really well and stuff. So I'd love to see him do well, but MajOr, he's a guy that people have had beef with just because he's been one of these unorthodox guys. Like Jeff talked about it earlier. MajOr, he's changed his nickname multiple times. He comes into tournaments like pretending to be a young lady, and ends up winning the tournament flawlessly. But right now, he's absolutely in the shape of his life. He went onto the ladder, and nobody knew this at the time, but there was an account called Mincemeat, which mincemeat spelled incorrectly. So I was like, man, who might that be? Like, which Terran is kind of
Sounds like MajOr.
Yeah, which Terran is good enough to pull off like an 80% win rate and land himself in the top 3 in ladder, but also will misspell mincemeat? It's MajOr.
There's basically one guy.
Yeah, and what I really want from MajOr is for him to like come out with a nickname like One True Juan or something like, or Juan. Yeah, he's just a really
the one true Juanito.
Yeah,
the one to rule them all.
He's such a peculiar guy, but man, his skill, he's jumped up, and he's also one of the guys that he will copy Koreans down to a T.
Oh, yeah. He's an extremely smart guy, quirky as he is, love him or hate him, but he is a big contender to win this all. But getting into this first game, let's introduce the players up in the top right. In the red, the Zerg player from Team Liquid, it is Snute.
Looking very cool and calculated there he is.
Yeah. And up in the top left, in the blue, the Terran player, it is MajOr.
And honestly, this matchup between these two guys, Snute's a guy that focuses heavily on Roaches and Ravagers. And when Juan talks about this, he'll mainly play against Koreans, and now I guess he's played on the European server, but a lot of his practice goes down to, hey, I'm going to watch these Koreans, I'm going to copy exactly what they do. And a lot of when he first came to Europe, he didn't know how to play against Roach Ravager, so I'm very much so looking forward to see what he does in this position. Lorelette Crest, this isn't an easy map against Zerg, but so far, we see that he's going for a very generic opening, which is the Reaper, most likely into Expand and Snute. He's opting for a very macro-centric opening too.
Yeah, I'm also really excited to get into this one because a lot of the players we're talking about it, specifically I think Nurcio mentioned it, where it's like, I actually disliked the fact that I knew my opponent a week early because he knew me a week early and he was able to study every single thing that I do. Now, it's still early on in Legacy of the Void, as of course, there's not tons of VODs out there. Even if Snute, he's definitely been playing a lot, but of MajOr, there's not a ton. He's obviously playing a lot on the EU ladder, is right now number 3. We actually checked that right before. And this guy is playing from Mexico, right? He's playing on like, what, 400, 500 ping, and he's number 3 on EU GM.
Yeah,
like, what?
And now he's playing with very, very little ping, and he gets to face these Europeans with no disadvantage whatsoever. So the fact that he's so scary online with that ping, going up against him on LAN, that's no easy feat.
Yeah, and the desk got to do their predictions, so why don't we, before this gets going too deep, give our predictions. I was thinking 3-2. For MajOr, I think I was agreeing with Roddy on that one. What do you think?
It's amazing that we're here where Snute's an underdog against a foreigner. But like I'd go with MajOr winning also. Here we have MajOr just harassing with a Reaper. Gets to get scouted actually. So Snute, he's not going to go unprepared here. He gets to see that there's a factory producing, there's a reactor going down very early. One thing that Snute has to take into account here is there wasn't a Marine made to deny that Overlord scouting. So that most likely means that he's going to be switching into Hellions. If you were attacked by a Marine, it could mean Widowmine drop follow-ups, and there we see the reactor swatching. Because Terrans can vary their build so much now. There's so many Korean builds available.
You know what? Just to build off of that thought, I was studying a lot of MajOr because obviously I'm over there in Korea. I don't get to watch a ton of this guy's games. He goes Hellions into Liberator like all the time. This is his favorite build, I think. He's doing it right now. I'm happy it all comes to fruition here at this tournament. But we are going to see Hellions. This isn't the most popular build right now, but definitely a viable one.
This Reaper doing work, and look, already we see that MajOr's just being a nuisance here with this Reaper. Most likely will get away also, and with Hellions joining this Reaper, oh wow, little bomb on himself there, but the Hellions, they're going to be able to deflect these Lings over here, and a Roach Warren goes down very early. I like this on this map, given that the rocks to your third are now there. The Hellions can't just run around willy-nilly, and the only way into your base is going up through that natural. But a cloaked Banshee fault, this is something you don't see very often, and how's Snute really going to scout this? He's not. So this is a really nice opening by MajOr.
Yeah, these Banshees really set to do a lot of damage. There is one Overlord slowly sneaking over here. I mean, it's just going to make 6 Roaches. I would think that is more so for defense. I think he did see the Hellion, so he just wants to make sure he takes no damage here and secures those 3 bases pretty safely. But I'm not sure if he's going to be ready for these Banshees.
The Roaches on this map, given that we talked about there is only one way into the base, covering it with Roaches is like, hey, if you want to run past these Roaches, you're A, going to lose a Hellion instantly, and B, these Hellions, all they can do now is really deny creep and constantly scout his opponent. But this Banshee, this is really key here. And wow, he's going to go straight for the Roaches. He's revealed his tech, and now Spore Crawlers should instantly start coming down on the map.
Yeah, really interesting here. Snute really droning up. I think he did put down 1 Spore, but I think that's only 1 Spore. It's at the natural right now, so that's actually really key. That's the perfect place, actually, because the Banshee is going to come from that direction.
It was the only vulnerable spot, at least for the Banshee to come in first. So the fact that he put down a Spore at that base, and it was only 1 Spore, he didn't overreact. He was like, okay, I haven't seen anything, but if it is that, I'm going to put down a Spore just in case. So very smart play by Snute.
Yeah, this is why I'm so excited for this series, because you can just tell these guys are so smart and so perfect to the point where just the small, tiny details down to that 1 Spore is going to make a big difference. As we get later on in this game, you can see already the Banshee really not doing that much damage based on just the placement of that 1 Spore.
One of the worrisome things about these positions in particular, though, where does Snute take his 4th? He can either take the 4th that's relatively close. Oh, these Hellions do run in. These are just a scout at this point. They won't get to deal damage, but if he gets to see the double Evo, which if he runs a bit north...
He's getting pretty close, but is only going to see 1 Evo there.
Has he even scouted the 3rd yet?
Yeah.
He did. Okay, so he knows he's not going to get like 2 base Nidus all in, and in fact, MajOr's so safe against that anyway that he's doing really well here. And the fact that he's going for this army of tanks, Marines mainly, I love that. Most people like to think that you have to add in Marauders, but Ravagers, they don't have that weakness of armor type. So actually, if the Zerg ends up having like 1-to-1 ratio of Ravager and Roach, you like to go pure Marine and pure tank. The tanks clean up the Roaches, the Marines then clean up the Ravagers. So really good army composition so far by MajOr.
Yeah, this is the other thing I actually saw in a lot of his VODs. Definitely like that Marine tank play, and I think we'll get to see a little bit more of it here. I'm not sure about these Banshees. You know, they've gotten a little bit of damage done, but not all that effective. What do you think about this instead of Liberators?
Liberators are good, but on this map, where you can't really get into that main. Getting into that main means you're probably going to die, so I like the fact that he did avoid going that, but here, this is quite a decent Marine hit squad. The Banshees, the way that they come into effect now is, Snute is not a guy that goes for mutas. He's not a guy that goes this Baneling style, so the Banshees, they're going to be able to deny that 4th for a long time, and even if you get the hatch down and start producing it, 2 Banshees is enough DPS to start dealing damage.
That's a really good point. Unfortunately, he lost both, as we are seeing right now. Not exactly sure how that happened. Maybe he just flew them into the Queens here with the Overseer.
That's a big deal, because now that signals for Snute that, yeah, you can put down that 4th, and the only thing he has to worry about is having Roaches to defend it. Great timing by MajOr.
Wow, he's just going to fly right over here. There are some Roaches trying to get in position, but this many Marines with stem, and they can actually just fight up against this puny army of Roaches and that 1 Ravager. Now he can just park his units here. He's already got his 3rd base up, and he's just going to wait and eventually start that 2-2.
This is very Poltesque right now, the fact that he's moving around with 2 armies, but also Ravagers, they don't have much health They're a pretty expensive unit, 100 in total, minerals and gas. But if you focus those down with Marines, they're in a lot of trouble. Great focus fire by Snute on the medevacs. Lowering the health of one medevac is enough to make that army just run back, but great multitasking by MajOr here.
Yeah, this is the second army we're talking about, getting a really nice trade against these roaches. Just going to sit in the corner here, wait until some anti-air comes, or just too many roaches, and eventually pick up and leave. Now, MajOr has identified that this fourth base is finally coming up. He couldn't deny it any longer. Do you think he's going to go for a push here at the fourth? I mean, it's pretty far away, or do you think he's just going to go straight for the natural?
The natural seems like a good spot. If you go for the fourth, going through the middle, it's a long way, opens you up to counterattacks, and how do you reinforce your army? Once it's out on the map, there's roaches available, and they can prevent reinforcements. We now see a spire going down, and multiple barracks being thrown down too. There's no fourth CC on the way, so MajOr, it looks like his plan is set in stone. He's getting those 2-2 upgrades, pure Marine coming out. These two barracks, I wouldn't be surprised if they are Tech Lab, just in case Ultras eventually come out, and the extra Marauders that you do have become very, very useful. But man, he's dealing damage here. 5 drones go down to this drop, and supply-wise, very, very similar. And when you're going Roach Ravager, that's not what you want to happen.
Yeah. And it does look like Snute will eventually have a transition. I think that will be into Greater Spire. You were talking about the Ultras, but getting this Spire at this timing with the Hive about to finish here, based on what I've seen from his VODs, it seems like he really likes to play with the Greater Spire in Legacy of the Void.
This is very nice by MajOr, by the way. He's using this as a distraction, but his real plan here is to clear up creep at the front for his tank push. Once you get a good 6-7 tanks against Roach Ravagers, and if you micro like a boss, which MajOr is fully capable of doing, and here he's just buying time, and yes, this is exactly what he wants to be doing.
Yeah, he's pulling this army out of position. There's tons of Spore Crawlers over here, so that 3-drop. Whoa, what's this? A bunch of medevacs just flying in. The tank's really not supported here. No pickups. A little bit sloppy. Looks like he was trying to control this drop at the same time.
Oh, Snute's actually handling this very well, and the amount of spores that he had, what a nuisance they were too, but this creep is constantly being cleared up, and if you position these tanks at the bottom of this ramp, trying to run down from one direction, it gets insanely hard. And 2-2, it's coming down now. I wonder what the upgrades are for Snute. Okay, got 2 armor.
At this moment in time. He's got +2 on the way.
Look at that greatest. That is so fast, and that is so unpredicted too. Because if you look at the production tab, there's Marauders coming out, there's Liberators coming out. He's totally prepared for that Ultra Switch, which in this game so far, it's never going to happen. In this army, tanks, they'll self-kill against the Broodlings.
Oh, did
just
you see
out
that?
of scan range.
Oh, no, he saw one. He saw one. But
my
did he
Lord.
notice it? That's the question. Has he noticed it? Is he going to change up his build now and start, I guess, adding in some Vikings to deal with these Broodlords in the sky? It doesn't look like it for now.
The thing is, Roach Ravager is so supply inefficient once it hits 200 supply, but man, the longer that Snute's given here to build up that Broodlord count, and already 6 going to be on the field, that's a scary army. But Vikings are being made, air upgrades being made, so MajOr's reacting very well. Even a second starport coming down and continuously denying this creep, but I must admit, I'm very impressed by Snute. Despite being under such pressure, and the medevacs, they didn't really get to deal that much, he's still spreading creep, and he's still denied the drop, so very impressive by both players here.
Yeah, I just wonder, when is he going to take this fourth base? Okay, my questions are answered. Here it does come down. He's got only 6 tanks. He hasn't really overcommitted. He's now maxed up. His army is actually mainly just Marines. He's got 2 Liberators, 2 Vikings, 8 medevacs. He's going to have to trade out some of these units to deal with the Broodlords in the sky, because there are some Corruptors as well to support those Broodlords.
I'm really curious what MajOr's going to transition to late game, whether he's going to be adding Ghosts with this, but these drops and this simultaneously timed attack here with the Liberators were cleaned up quite easily.
Yeah, and at the same time he's pushing onto the creep, and he's getting on top of the Broodlords. It looks like a couple of them actually already went down, only 3 remaining. Now he's just going to trade here and eventually kite back, and at the same time this drop has not been dealt with. He's attacking from 3 different locations right now.
This is really nice by MajOr, and he is going to get this 4th by the looks of it, and yet it won't be stopped at all, so the 4th does fall, but Snute's supply is very good, and his army's still exceptionally strong, but where's his anti-air? There is none, but there's only 3 Broodlords left on the field, and if this army goes up against tanks, it's going to get absolutely melted.
I'm not even sure if he knew the tanks were back there, just running down, and Broodlords are slow. He's only got 3 of them. It's going to take a long time for him to actually get a push going here, unless he wants to push with only Road Ravager, and as you were saying, not really an option at this point. It looks like MajOr's pretty set on 4 bases to defend. I mean, he's not going to be taking any attacks anytime soon. It looks like he wants to hit before more Broodlords get on the field.
That isn't a bad thing, though. Seeing those Broodlords, and MajOr's just all over the shop here, just dropping, dealing damage with just bio. He hasn't even unveiled his secret weapon here, which is, hey, I'm just going to kill your air super easily, and he started doing that now. The Broodlords did stop morphing it. I almost think that was a mistake, attacking the Broodlords morphing, because now the Corruptors can deal with the Vikings. Yeah. I feel that if you just let them morph in and just
let
pretend,
them morph and then show up with, you know, your 12 Viking squad.
Exactly.
Like you came to the wrong neighborhood. Here are my Vikings, and all of them just go down. Yeah, it may have turned out a little bit better. I still think there's not that many Corruptors in this mix. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Looks like MajOr wants to come over here and try to trade a little bit. And he's doing a really nice job. In fact, Snute getting a little bit too far forward. Some corrosive biles coming down, but the kiting right now from the Vikings is huge.
Yeah, he's playing with them at this point. The Vikings can outrange the Corruptors, and MajOr's getting ready to drop, and he's on 4 bases here. He's got 9 Vikings, 2 Liberators, 8 siege tanks. There's ground-to-ground army. He's going to win, and he's going to take out the Ultralisk Cavern
for free. He just flies in, swoops in. Snute is totally unknowing, and at the same time, he's going to attack this 4th base. I guarantee it. His multitasking this game, I have to say, has really impressed me. Some of the top I've ever seen, in fact. This is really, really nice.
MajOr's looking a lot cleaner now, and this army is fighting against the Ravagers. They've got no support here. He's taken out absolutely everything of Snute.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's much. There's some Corruptors coming over here, but fighting against only the Vikings. He does have to kite those back, but not that much more on the ground. It looks like MajOr is going to back off. At the same time, he is going for a drop on the main, though.
Yeah, I mean, Snute focused down the medevac, so the longevity of this little squad isn't going to be around for much longer, but he's doing a lot of damage in the main, taking out multiple queens, going to start focusing down, and Snute's struggling to get 4 bases running really, really smoothly here. Like, this base is back up, sure, but he needs to keep on out expanding the Terran, but MajOr's really not letting him.
And MajOr just never lets up. It's coming right now. There's a force going towards that 5th base. He's not going to let him take that 5th base. No way in hell.
Yeah.
Now he just backs off.
I mean, that was a rather a ballsy Liberator there. Very ambitious, but didn't get
Flying right over
done.
4 queens and a spore.
The thing is, how is Snute going to deal with mass Liberator, mass Viking, and a pretty darn decent ground army with what he has? And I don't think he is going to.
Yeah, I love the fact that MajOr identified the fact that Snute must be low on gas. He can't keep producing these Broodlords, so just make a bunch of Liberators. You don't need to really deal with the Broodlords now. He's going to mainly make a strong ground army,
and
it's going to work out so well.
Oh, and doesn't get the cancel either, so MajOr's just making Snute's life very hard right now, and this isn't even the end thing that he has to worry about. MajOr's on 200 supply. At the start of the game, we saw that MajOr lost a lot more resources, but he's definitely been winning these trades later on.
Yeah, he's doing a really nice job. And you could see at the moment he's drawing the army of Snute all the way to the bottom right. And at the same time, he's waiting to attack in the middle while sending a small Marine force to the only other location that Snute could possibly take another base. And another non-cancel.
Look at this. He's attacking with Marines. He's doing stuff in the middle of the map. He's got a Liberator running randomly into the natural. He's going to get a Liberation Zone down. So he's just taxing Snute's multitasking right now. And MajOr, again, he's moving in for the south base.
You were talking about this guy really cleaning up his play. He looks like one of the fastest Terran players I've ever seen. He's all over Snute, and Snute's a fantastic player.
You know, this is MajOr unleashed. There is one mistake here, but, a little bit of a freeze going on. But, man, MajOr's looking really darn solid this game so far.
Yeah, he really is. Looks like we are having some technical issues, but we will get right back into that game as soon as possible. MajOr just stretching his wrists off there. I'm sure those are being taxed.
It looks so much better when you watch MajOr play now. Before, and as a pro gamer, I watch these players, and a lot of it is about how you use your mouse and your keyboard and how you click and how concise you are and how efficient you are. But MajOr, he's definitely cleaned up shop. So it's beautiful to watch him play. And it isn't this erratic, like, out of control guy that doesn't know how to control his speed, you know. It's this guy that's finally coming into his own where he can really control his speed and he can keep up with how fast he is. And he's making Snute struggle really hard, man.
Yeah, this is a funny first game. Keep in mind this is only the first game. Lorelei Crest, a very big map. It's taken a while to get to where we are. This must be very taxing for both of the players. Do you think that's going to have a bigger effect on either of these players? Do you think either one might have a bit more stamina, or you feel like they're both just really practiced at this point?
They're both really good. Snute's a guy that's won tournaments. Major's a guy that hasn't really come into his own yet. Like I think Rotterdam brought this up, his best tournament LAN result was coming like 4th or so for WCS North America in the old.
Yeah.
Around that, he's tried to qualify to tournaments, and he's made it really far, but then he's kind of said, oh, I've been sick, I can't go on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, whoa, dude, you just made it to WCS Top 16 and you don't want to play, and he's sick. But right now, yeah, this is the best Major I've ever seen. But within regards to who would deal with a loss better, I feel that if Snute loses, he's the kind of guy that goes, man, I'm terrible. Like I'm bad at this game.
I can't believe I lost that game. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, but he's so hard on himself. Whereas Major, like I feel if you beat him, he's just kind of like, oh, whatever. Like,
He
let's
take
move
a
on.
sip of his soda. He's like, okay,
Yeah,
game 2.
He's actually got a much better mindset for winning, or at least for losing, dealing with the losses. I feel if Major even lost this 3-0, it's not going to stop him from practicing really, really hard afterwards. He'd just be like, oh, well, you know, I lost. This happened.
I had a bad day, you know. Stute's a good player, whatever. Like,
Exactly.
Let me keep practicing. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Major just seems so calm and relaxed in that booth, whereas Snute kind of, you know, gets me even a little bit nervous, you know.
Yeah.
I was reading a little bit up on Snute, actually, on his Wikipedia page. He used to be like he was trying to become a professional pianist and actually become like really, really good. But at some point, he was just like, no, I can't do it. It's not working for some reason. So I'm just going to focus on something else.
I did have the fortune of seeing Snute in person play DDR. He was a Norwegian champion. And for those that haven't seen, there's probably videos and stuff of him. But yeah, he's a special guy. But he definitely looks calm and calculated when he's in the booth. It's just Snute's he's his own worst enemy, really, because he's one of the guys that makes it look very easy when he plays. Like, he's streamed, again, he listens to the trancey techno kind of stuff, and he seems very smooth and very easy, but yeah, and even Dario, TLO, when he was on the couch, he talked about him being the team therapist almost, and like has to kind of help out Snute, and yeah, he's a very emotional guy, but right now, he's definitely up against it, and this is even tweeted before, actually. He said, skill-wise, I feel that both me and Major could easily make top 16. Like, we are top 16 players here, but the fact that we've been pitted against each other so early on in the tournament, first round for 6K, that's insane, man. Like, there's been tournaments where you win and you get 6K.
So, guys, we are going to throw it over to the analyst desk. Sorry again for the delays, but we'll have them entertain you for a bit, and we'll be right back.
We are entertainers. Just to give you an update with what's going on exactly, is the Observer PC, if you could tell, did crash. Funker lost connection to the game.
He was observing so fast and so well, so diligently, the PC literally exploded.
Can't handle his
under
observing.
the speed of his APM.
But thanks to the function in the game, the feature, we can recover from replay.
Wow.
So that's happening right now. Funker's rehosting up again, and we'll have the players join and then start the game for 5 seconds before it actually crashed.
Excellent.
So that's brilliant news, but we're here to entertain you. More so importantly, Nate, we have another game that's going on at the same time, which is Hearthstone versus Mass. So this is the perfect time here, Rossi.
Perfect. This is actually
perfect.
perfect. I'm so happy that you just spoke for 10 seconds, because a very big fight just unfolded in ladder leg crest. And it actually seems that Masa is going to be able to pick up game number 2. It's not certain yet, but
he's got Liberators. It's over, Kev.
It's starting to look very good.
Libations.
Game number 1 was an orbital, very straightforward game. You know, Masa did a little bit of harass and tried to go for a 2-base all-in, you know, Marine tank. Hearthstone had a beautiful engagement, and I mean it, like adepts coming from all angles, tanks.
Perfect fungals.
Yes, it was a beautiful Guardian Shield.
Beautiful Guardian Shield.
No, it was just a really beautiful fight by Hearthstone, and it was kind of a landslide victory. Game number 2, he looked good early on, but Masa really stepped it up. Did way more with Liberators, harassing as well, while he was going for a big push. First big fight didn't go Masa's way, but this time he did have a third command center, and that's why he was able to follow up, and he's actually about to win game number 2. So very close series.
How did you judge the player skills? Is Hearthstone looking good from what you've seen? Is Massa,
I mean, Hearthstone was looking very good. Masa actually looked a little bit sloppy in game 2 as well. 4 times I looked at the screen, 4 times supply block. Not big ones, but you know, like 5-10 seconds, 5-10 seconds. And normally that adds up and it goes into your mind as well. You know, like, I'm not playing well, I'm not playing well, but him winning game number 2, that's going to be a very good motivational booster for him. And Hearthstone is probably wondering, like, why did I lose this game? Like, I had 3 bases very early on. I defended yours almost 2 base all in. Then the game dragged on, and suddenly you took it away from me.
Well, now he's attacking the Liberator, so I think the answer becomes very clear here.
Yeah, no, this game is over. So, no, this is... I mean,
Beautiful liberation.
I think if you ask around, like I was just talking with the Muslim, he's like, hey, what do you think about that series before it happened? I was like, I think it's going to be very close. He's like, yeah, me too, actually. But there are a lot of people, I was like, well, then those people are silly. Like, this is a close series. You know, Masa is one of the best North American Terrans. Hearthstone is, we've been saying for a long time, one of the best
year of Hearthstone.
He's so good.
Yeah, but
he's
it's
so hot right now.
It is
the
about
gatekeeper.
You know, but all jokes aside, it is about time that Hearthstone gets a good run. Like, we all love Hearthstone. He's funny. He's a real character in our scene.
Tall.
He's strong.
He's very tall.
But he needs to have a good run. So
Kevin the King.
That's him.
Learned that from Roddy before. But talking about this one then, MajOr versus Snute, it's going as expected too. Macro games, drawn out, playing it to the later stages.
I would say better than expected. I think MajOr's playing really well. He got kind of a luck of the draw in terms of positions on this map. Lyrla crest and has top left, top right. Like, that's very good for Terran. You don't want to have cross map on this map.
Yeah.
But, you know, it unfortunately did crash out at a pretty pivotal time. Like, it's not in the middle of a fight, so it's not, nothing's ruined. But it could still go either way. So we're kind of in an intermission of sorts. Grab your popcorn. Who's our sponsors? Get a Monster Energy drink, maybe?
I actually heard Red Bull is not bad. Gives you wings.
Great.
Grab an Intel computer.
Yeah, so we're
away on
almost ready to jump back into that. So we'll go with that into a quick second. It's still recovering at this current point in time.
The game was so epic, it takes a while to recover.
We have to recover, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not just the game; it's us too. You know.
That's true. Having a lot of fun here with you, Jeff.
You know, thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, when you put this much energy into it, it's just nice when you get something.
I give it my all. You know, honestly.
And then you get it back as well when you put the effort in.
Can I just say, too, that I think it's so cool that Maynard is here as well.
Yeah.
That's it?
I was going to make a joke. I got nothing.
That's when you know it's been a long day.
The way my head works with jokes, I just have things floating around, and I went to the Maynard compartment. That's not where
you
my
pulled
jokes.
the drawer
that's
open, and it was like, oh, I'm all out? Okay.
No, yeah, I can do like the that's nothing. You know, I can talk about Australia and stuff, but
I'm sure there's always a red-eye joke somewhere. Right?
There's a lot of those. A lot of those floating around up there.
It's good to have Red Eye back, actually. He's been enjoying it as well. And everyone at home.
Does anyone else think he's been doing a great job?
I think he's been doing a great job.
DAE?
There should be a thread.
Almost
there is a
appreciation thread.
There's not enough, there's not enough threads. That's the real kicker.
Yeah. It is great to have him back.
Yeah. It's been fun. It's been a fun day.
It has been. It has been, and it's not over yet, because of course MajOr Snute, and then after that we have KevZor versus Neeb, which is quite an exciting game.
Will Neeb live up to the hype?
Yeah.
Everyone.
Oh, of course.
All the players come over there and they're like, oh yeah, Neeb's the best Protoss, so it'll be interesting.
All right, it sounds like it is time to go to casters. Let's continue on with MajOr versus Snute.
Welcome back, guys, to the casting desk. Again, I'm Valdez. With me is DeMuslim. We're jumping right back into the game, so no time for introductions. And where were we? I mean, we had MajOr all over the place, dropping the 5th. Finally, it seems like Snute's been able to sort of get that online.
Well, this game's really weird because Snute totally bypassed Ultras. And even when he tried to put down an Ultralist Den, MajOr was quick to the punch to kill that. But he's been going for this air army, and now we see Corruptor, Viper, and Broodlord out. That's a pretty strong army.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're going to do. He needs to split. First things first, he's losing so much health on all of those air units. Unbelievable. Now he has to back off. He can't possibly fight now. He's got to go back and repair.
Back to square one. And look at this creep spread, by the way. The creep no longer really defends the natural that well, but the natural's mining out. So Snute, he's been really prioritizing where to put his creep. Of course, Zerg moves faster, but one of the really big things is vision for creep in this game. So the fact that he's spread it out to defend his exterior bases, it's really smart by Snute. And now he's getting these really good upgrades for his air units, too, getting level 2 air. But MajOr, on the other hand, already at like level 3, or going for level 3. That's insane.
Yeah, that was one funny thing I noticed with MajOr. He just the second he realized that he's going to need a lot of air units in this game, he immediately started the upgrades. Other Terran players, they're just like, okay, I need Vikings right now. And they're not thinking about the upgrades, but MajOr right on top of that. Now he's right on top of the creep, looking to take all of that out. A lot of nice scans, and even going for another drop here at the 5th.
Denying creep in the middle, going for drops. He even might go for a bit of an engage in the middle, but he shouldn't really. He needs to build up an army first just so he can instantly squash his opponent. Here, drones fighting, that's never a good sign, but MajOr just picks up, just drops on the Ravager. Medevac though,
just barely loses that.
So much going on though, in the chaos of everything. And MajOr, he's always doing stuff on the map. There's never something that he isn't doing. Expanding here, he's keeping up with the Zerg, if not overtaking him in expansions here, actually.
Yeah, lots of planetaries all around the map as well. He's been really on top of that. No counterattack from Snute has really worked out so far.
Look at the production tab too. We have ghosts on the way. And if there's one thing that I've seen that Snute didn't handle very well, it was when he played against Happy actually on Ruins of Ceres. And Happy went pure Ghost and Liberators. So this is very reminiscent of that game, except MajOr, he's just had the upper hand the whole time, denying creep continuously. And these drops, man, so hard to deal with.
He just never stops. And now he's got Liberators in the mix. He's like, okay, let me up the ante here. You've been defending up until now, but let's see what you can do against this. Now Snute's got his entire army down here in the bottom. It looks like MajOr may lose a couple of Liberators, but at the same time, MajOr getting onto that creep once again, gonna clear it up again.
Everything about MajOr's play is great. He's doing one thing, and it may seem hopeless, just that one thing alone, but he's always distracting him. He's showing him one card and then doing another. And the real aim of the game here is deny creep, keep this guy away from me. I'm going to build the ultimate army.
Yeah. And it's not yet over for Snute. He's got a very strong composition right now. We were talking about that Broodlord Corruptor Viper. That will decimate any kind of air army, really. He really needs those ghosts to be added in, and he is adding those in. Now Snute's going to add Infestors. He's getting this giant death ball of Zerg.
I've been crediting MajOr so much, but it can't go without being said that Snute's doing it exceptionally well too. He's been under so much pressure, but this creep spread, he continues to try and re-spread all the time. And he's getting an insanely good army. Like, one of the most scary things about dealing with a Zerg, difference from HOTS to Legacy of the Void is, hey, Broodlord Corruptor Infestor, it's still very strong, but with the addition of Viper AoE 2 against your air units, man, that's scary. So this is really going to come down to one engagement, if not many, but also the micro involved.
Yeah. I wonder if MajOr's ever going to full-on engage. I was talking about this before. Broodlord's very, very slow. There is quite a lot of Broodlords now on the map. I think there must be at least 9.
Look how many air units he's making at once. 3 Liberators, 3 Vikings, and 3 Command Centers.
Yeah.
And his army already looks really scary. And the fact that he's got Ghosts and he's doing such a good job of just playing StarCraft, which is, hey, I'm denying your bases and I'm going to keep on expanding. It's beautiful to see.
And look at all these ghosts now looking to possibly get on top of that army, go for some snipes or the EMPs onto those Vipers, and now the parasitic bomb's coming out. He has to spread, but there's too many of them, so just trying to go for the damage on the Broodlords instead. This is going to make MajOr back up.
You know what? Snute's actually handling these little engagements where they actually fight a lot better. MajOr's not splitting up these Vikings. He's losing all the Vikings every time, and with these Queens, Snute's very good at transfusing. So units lost this game, 20 Vikings? That is substantial, and 11 Liberators, that's a lot of gas. And we see by the units resources lost tab, Snute's just doing a better job. So this game, it's not over by any means. And who do you put ahead here? Yeah, MajOr's economy is looking better because he's got more bases, but
yeah, and he keeps taking them very aggressive with his expanding, and Snute's really had no real chance to deny any of those expands as well.
And the war of attrition, you've got to put Snute slightly ahead here, because even though he's losing these bases, sure, but he's making good trades, and even every time we look around the map, he's just doing something well. And if he isn't mining out all of the bases on his side of the map, that just gives him more resources to mine later.
Yeah, as long as he can eventually defend those bases, for sure. I wonder what the perfect army here is for MajOr to eventually attack into this Snute army. It looks like he's going for a lot of Marines now. I'm not sure exactly where his Viking Liberator count is at. Looks like he's got 17 Vikings, so he's saying, okay, that's enough. I shouldn't make any more Liberators at this point. I just need a mass number of Vikings to deal with the Broodlords in the sky, and then just a good bio army on the ground to deal with everything else.
If you get enough of a flank and enough of a concave against this Zerg army, it's very hard for the Zerg to do anything, because even though Parasitic Bomb deals a lot of damage, you can't cover the whole screen with Parasitic Bomb. And we see lots of Liberators being made. Vikings should be on the field. If MajOr can just take out the main...
6 Liberators at a time right now.
It's insane. It's insane. I really don't know who... And this is one thing I love about Legacy of the Void. There's so many army compositions now that are very, very viable, but which one beats which? It all comes down to micro.
Yeah, it really does. MajOr once again sniping another base. I feel like this game has been going on forever. This is the first game in the series, and it's 24 minutes in. That's pretty long for a Legacy of the Void game.
It is very long, and MajOr, he can't be used to this either, because this is 24 minutes of him just constantly attacking his opponent, and Snute hasn't really tried to cross the map. And Snute's quite comfortable just letting this opponent sit and attack him.
He's got so many orbitals, he's just scanning the entire map.
Oh,
he's found the Broodlords. There's no defense. He's going to get 1, 2, 3, and now he's just going to back off. He doesn't want to get fungled, no Parasitic Bomb, does not want to fight right now.
He certainly doesn't. Lifts up that command center as well, but with that amount of Corruptors there, that would take it out. But again, he's doing something else. He's got Liberators putting down Liberation Zones, just dealing damage, and the gas bank for Snute, it is not there. So rebuilding this army of his, it's just not a possibility at this time. And MajOr's ultimate plan here, just to kind of whittle down his opponent and just keep the bases limited, it's actually coming into fruition here.
Yeah, you can see Snute still struggling to take those bottom 2 bases, and now it looks like he's trying to get the one in the top center, the one that's been closest to MajOr. But it looks like at the same time MajOr has moved towards that and has identified that it is up, so that's a very close base to go to. And he's dropping at the same time, once again at the bottom.
Oh, it's just great play by MajOr, but this army, does he really want to be in liberation mode right now? He has to kind of keep the Infestors away from this group of Vikings. Look at this, how he's playing with the Ghost too. Going to snipe down those Corruptors. Dropping this base also. MajOr!
He's getting this base and the corner base, and he's fighting right now.
Look how he's doing this too. He's got the Liberation Zones. If he had Liberator range as well with this would be even scarier.
That would be gorgeous, man.
He's trying to keep the Infestors away, and he's going to use the Ghost to whittle him down. And if he gets too close with the air army, bam, the Vikings get off a good volley or two.
Yeah, now we're seeing that very late game kind of siege composition out of the turn. I like that you mentioned. Love to see the advanced ballistic upgrade come in here, get that extra range, just to make sure that you can keep your Liberators at a distance. They would even go very far in terms of denying the mining at these bases if you can just keep a couple Liberators down there.
I love it when Terran starts building buildings aggressively. Turrets, sensor towers, you name it. And he really needs to get control of this map a little bit better, because if he keeps letting Snute just expand, which he's been doing a good job of denying, but the one time that Snute really gets these bases up, he is trading better in these fights.
Yeah, he really is. A couple of Parasitic Bombs coming down. It looks like finally Adrenal Glands is upgraded, so adding in a big bunch of Zerglings into this mix. He may be able to snipe some of these bases if MajOr is not paying attention.
Oh, MajOr is on the ball though, but these are Adrenal Gland Lings here, so that planetary, it will not live for much longer, and all the SVs drop too, so a really nice little attack by Snute, and this is the first time in the game that we've really seen Snute do an attack that worked out for him.
Yeah, we're finally seeing Snute fight back in terms of the harassment battle, and that may make all the difference. You really do need to deny the Terran from mining these bases at the same time.
And look at the banks. I'm actually starting to worry for MajOr at this point. I don't think he's ever fought against a Zerg as tenacious as Snute at this point. And given that MajOr, and look at Snute, he's also spot on with moving the Spore Crawler. Yeah, he didn't move his drones back, but there's so much going off around the map here. And MajOr, he's the kind of guy, he'll copy the Koreans down to a T. But when did he see a Korean go up against a Zerg that held on as well as Snute did?
Oh, look at this, the Fungals and the Parasitic Bombs catching all the Vikings there. Unbelievable catch by Snute. At the same time denying a base. Snute is making a huge comeback in this game.
Wow, Snute's doing it, man. Like, this is a really hard situation to come back from. He's been under pressure the whole game, but the one time the switch is flicked, he's the one dealing undeniable damage here, and MajOr's bank completely gone. He's getting bases denied left, right, and center, and his army vanished in the blink of an eye there.
Yeah, and this is the moment for Snute. He's taken out all of those Vikings, desperately trying to get out 6 Vikings at a time. They will eventually get onto the map, but he's going to use this time to attack this bio. That's a lot of weak bio, but will do a decent job against these Ravagers.
But Snute doesn't want those Ravagers anymore, and actually the Ravagers do clean up the fire.
The Ravagers actually do win, and they deny any defense of this base here. The SCVs are not going to do anything against those Broodlords.
Another base denied from MajOr, and MajOr's income, it's got to be sadly lacking at this point. I think his SV count must be insanely low too. In fact, no, it's still ridiculously high at this point in the game, but 150 supply, he's not mining anymore. His idea of winning, how is he going to win from this point in time? He's the one getting pushed back now. Look at all that creep across the map, and Snute, he's mining those bases very, very easily now in the bottom right.
Yeah, I love that this is the first match as well, the first game. This really sets the tone. You go into a game that lasts a half hour like this and you lose, that's got to make you feel bad. I don't care who you are, even if MajOr is a very relaxed kind of guy.
Man, it just looks like MajOr knew what he was doing for the first 20 minutes of this game, but as soon as he realized, man, like this is going to go on and on, he didn't know how to really turn on the kill switch and the win switch, and here, Snute's just taking little trades and little fights that are working out very well for him.
Yeah, he needs to get a couple more fungals. The parasitic bombs are doing the damage, but finally spreading out here. No more fungals actually on the map, and some Zerglings coming in the back, trying to get the surrounds, getting a lot of surrounds on all the ghosts in the back, but it looks like it should be enough Terran to eventually clean up the Lings, but will it be able to clean up the rest?
Man, that's so many Broodlords. MajOr's dropped down to below 100 supply here. Microing out his little heart, but these Broodlords, they go uncontested, and
That's
GG!
It. GG. Snute eventually in a half-hour-long game is able to take out MajOr, who everyone out here, except In Control was thinking was the favorite.
Dude, I just saw his hand as he was rubbing his eye there. He was shaking. Like, visibly shaking. So this is definitely taking its toll on Snute here, and rightly so. MajOr put him under such pressure in that game that he had no idea, really. Yeah, what a great first game of the series.
That was an unbelievable game, TvZ. That was one of my favorites from the first day, for sure. That was so back and forth. Snute fighting till the end there. He was not giving up. You know how many bases he lost? That was at least 9 or 10. That was, and he just never gave up.
And you know,
throughout the entire time.
The beautiful thing about this game too was they both played to their strengths. Like, Snute's a calm, methodical guy. Like, he gets in his groove. You know, I can imagine him listening to his music right now. It's like trance music, and he got right into it. And it looked rocky for a long time because MajOr did what he did really well: fast, concise, erratic play that he's like kind of fixed up a little bit. But once it got to a certain stage in that game, it no longer looked like he knew exactly how to beat Snute. Like, this guy, it was really like MajOr was throwing absolutely everything at him, but Snute, while he was taking damage, he managed to hold in, and the unit loss tab definitely, yeah, man, like, it definitely was in favor of Snute that game.
Yeah, I feel like the problem and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the problem is that MajOr was never really able to effectively engage against Snute's entire army. He was always able to get huge cancels on all the bases, but he was never able to say, okay, I'm going to wipe out your entire army. I've got the answer now. He was always just like, oh, I can skirt around and deny you minerals and gas, but eventually Snute just had it seemed like the perfect army, and just one small mistake, getting all of his Vikings fungled, led to just a snowball effect of everything going wrong from there on out.
There's one thing also that most Terrans that I know tend to go for when they play against Ro32. They go for this tank timing, which you kind of saw MajOr moving out, but you never really knew how to land the killing blow. And there was good creep spread from Snute all the time, but I really feel that he missed his timing with that tank push. And then he had several tanks sitting and defending, but it was a good 30 supply wrapped up in tanks that he was doing nothing with for the whole game until that last push, when the Broodlord count was insane. And one smart thing that Snute did that a lot of Zergs don't do anymore, because Ultras are so good, so why would you? But Snute showed us exactly why you should. He just went straight to Broodlord, so the tank push just wouldn't have worked anyway. So, got to give credit where credit's due. They both played to their strength, but Snute, a little bit smarter there with how he played the late game.
Yeah, I really love how it seemed like he had that plan from the beginning. You were talking about the Broodlords, the Spire timing, lining up with the Hive there. I mean, I'd watched some of his VODs. It definitely seemed like that was his answer for ZVT. And it definitely worked out. We were saying how good MajOr was playing there, but damn, I mean, by the end of that, Snute was just like an unstoppable force.
Yeah, like, a lot of Zergs play very differently. You get to see the Korean Zergs, they go for this like Ling Bailing Muta into Ultras as fast as possible, right? Like, that's the answer.
They love their Ultras, trust me.
And MajOr going up against a Zerg, like, he follows the Koreans, so he copies the Koreans that are doing this kind of army composition. But when playing against a player that's doing the complete opposite and going for the more bulky units, the Roach Ravagers. Yeah, you can drop around them, which he was dealing damage, but he had no idea how to actually take on the army head-on with an army of his own. Like, it's not been seen in the European or in the Korean scene, so how is Major meant to copy it?
Yeah, it seemed like he definitely was having some trouble with that. But guys, we are into our second game, and down in the bottom left, in the red, the Terran player losing that last one, it is MajOr. Recently joining Invasion Esport. And up in the top right, in the blue, winning that last one from Team Liquid, it is Snute.
That was exceptionally solid play from both of them there. And we're on to another big map here, which is Dust
It's only
Tower.
a sign of things to come to Muslim. We may be here for 2 hours, but it'll be an enjoyable 2 hours. I guarantee you that.
Now, things that Major has to take into account here. So, Snute is a player that he should have studied. I mean, this is a $6,000 match in itself.
Yeah.
So you know your opponent goes for Roach Ravager, which Hellions, they can't do much against. And you have one entrance into all 3 of these bases with Hellions if you don't get a medevac. So, realistically, does Major want to open up like he did that last game? He didn't get to deal damage. Are Hellions the answer? These are all questions that Major will have to ask himself. And, yeah, he definitely has to do something different because Snute was so good in that early game.
Yeah, he really was, and really curious to see how this one is going to go down. It looks like Snute just opening up pretty standard here. Looks like on the opposite side, MajOr also looking to go into that Reaper expand. Going to make that Reaper and go ahead and drop that CC in the back. Nothing too crazy going on just yet.
Very standard openings by both of them, and I just want to emphasize how crazy it is that these two got matched against each other in the first round of the 32.
Yeah, that's what the story of this whole bracket really has been. I mean,
this is so cutthroat, man. Like, you do not want to play against either one of these players, never mind in the first round of the tournament. The fact they go up against each other and they put forth a 30-minute game like that, there's a reason these guys are so good.
Yeah, this looks like a semifinal match right now, to be honest. It's really cutthroat, as you mentioned. We had Nurtio versus Showtime as well. That went the distance, was looking like anyone could have taken it there. It's really been some fantastic games here for the round of 32, which generally you wouldn't see these kinds of games. So
I already like Major's opening a little bit better this game. So he goes for that Marine, and then he goes for the later Reactor. That usually signifies that you won't directly go for Hellions. This could be more like a Widow Mine drop, which if you get Widow Mines in your opponent's base, it's always lovely. But the fact that the Hellions didn't do that much last game, and I mean, he could still go Hellions, could still prove me totally wrong, but I like the fact that he's mixing this up a little bit, and he's got the Marine ready to deny vision. The fact that he opened up the first game with Banshees as well. The Banshees didn't really get much accomplished, and we talked about how they could deny the 4th base too for some time, but they never got to do that.
yeah, they really never did, and this map is going to be interesting. That 4th base generally pretty hard to take. You got to go either for the one that's got a high ground right next to it, or a one that's very far away from your 3rd base. So MajOr, with how active he was in that last game, I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking to shut both of those 4th bases from coming down and dropping the main, dropping the back door. I mean, who knows with this guy?
And you know what? Like, now I'm watching this, so he's still producing Marines while producing Hellions. This could well be like a Viking into Hellbats. Pretty darn strong, and this map's very good for Liberators too, so the amount of things that Snute has to be kind of scared of, it's a huge list. He sees Hellions on the map, that's something that you can be like, okay, there's Hellions, like I might take drone damage here and there, but that definitely signifies, hey, where are you spending your gas? Because you want to be spending your gas as a Terran, so that definitely opens up the option to either Banshee, if he doesn't see a Viking, then it's most likely Liberator, but 2 Liberators at a time. On this map, oh, he sees it!
Okay, he sees it.
Wow.
Okay.
Spore Crawlers go down, and Roach, you need Ravagers. And he sees the 3rd base too. He's got MajOr down to, he knows exactly what's coming here.
Yeah, that was the money scout there. I mean, it really can't be much else there with the reactor starport at this point in the game. So really going to have all the necessary tools. Of course, he is going to delay it for a bit. Just wait until the perfect time to go for that. Did get supply blocked at the same time. It looks like one of the Overlords did go down somewhere.
Now, scans the natural, doesn't see anything. That's always sad when you get that down. But one thing that he did see, there wasn't a Spore at that base, correct?
No, no Spore.
Oh, that means you can do quite a bit of damage with your Liberators there. This map in particular... What? Okay, he was very scared of those Lings running in there, which... Wow, he's playing so passive with these Liberators.
Wow. It kind of looks like what happened with the Banshees last time, where he really did not press the issue. He was like, okay, you scouted me, so I'm okay. All right, I'm just going to try to not lose these Liberators now. I'll keep them in my army. I kind of lost my chance to do damage, but they're good at it defending. I've got another base coming up, and let's go to the later game, I suppose.
Yeah, he's scouting for Overlords right now with one of his Liberators, which it's yet to find a kill. So this is always an investment that you make that you're kind of like, wow, it's not getting anything paid, like it's not getting any money's worth right now. And Snute, he's actually all ready for those Liberators if they were to come anyway. So Major's doing the right thing by not using them aggressively, because 3 Ravagers, bam, you kill a Liberator every time, but...
Oh, but look at this. Does he have much over here at this base? I mean, he's got 3 Queens now, and a Spore is coming up, but I think Major was expecting possibly a little bit more defense. All the defense is here in the main. He's got to back out of here. He's going to find nothing. Oh, no! Goodbye,
Wow.
Liberator.
A Liberator for a drone, that's a trade as a Zerg I'd take any day of the week. Loses a single drone here, so this Liberator a little more effective, but so far, this strategy of Major's has been shut down entirely.
Yeah. We were talking about how he wasn't going to go for it, but definitely did try to go for it, not working out for him. Even this one Liberator is going to have to go back home, and now Snute's like, okay, you're taking a 3rd base. I've got tons of time here. Has put down the double Evo, actually going for melee upgrades here. What do you think about that?
Ultras, man. Has to be Ultras.
Yeah.
The fact that we saw him go Brutals last game, but I love the fact that he's skipped the range upgrades here, even though he has invested in Roach Ravager, or rather just Ravager, and he's getting Roach Speed too, so he's going to have a bulky army, but I love the fact that he's investing for the late game here. Because, I mean, the range upgrades, they're not necessary. Yes, they're good, they're helpful, but really it's going to be those Lings and Ultralists dealing damage late game if you really want to go for them.
Yeah, well said. And now Major is coming in towards this 4th base. It looks like Snute not really paying attention to defending this just for now. Is going to get the cancel. More concerned about these Liberators still.
I mean, his Ravagers ran to the right location straight away, but just take a few drone kills there, which it's always nasty when you let a few drones die when you have your Ravagers in the right location, but so far he's definitely defended well, but this could be a nifty drop here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this is going to do. There is a Spore in position, but he can get a nice drop over towards the left side of that Spore, and there are no units over here right now. He's got to run all these Queens and the Ravagers back. He's going to get right on top of these drones. Already 6 of them going down. Is going to try to back up now, but he's already lost 1 medevac, so kind of leaving the last of them to die.
Just hopping on top of that Spore there. So Major dealing a little bit of damage here with his run-bys and cleaning up creep. He's playing this very, very Heart of the Swarm-esque.
Yeah.
But is creep denial really necessary right now?
I mean, there's not
what he's going for.
that much creep either at this point. There was like a couple of strands coming out in the middle of the map there. Has shut one of them down, but no 4th base.
Yeah, a 2nd factory on the way too. I'm really wondering what he's going to be using this for, whether he's going to be going for like pure tanks out of 2 factories, or whether he's going to be going for drilling claws here, and some old school combo of like 4 Widowmine. Anything could be done at this point in time.
Yeah, really can. Nice defense over here once again. It looks like we're getting a Spore Crawler wall on the edge of the main. Snute really not messing around with this one before taking that 4th base. He's saying, okay, let me just secure 3 bases. I've got a hive now, so I'm going to have a ton of Lings out here with Adrenal Glands and the Ultras coming out here.
This just shows how good a player Snute is. So the first game, what did he struggle against Major? It was the drops. And after the first game, he's already starting to improve as the series goes on, which shows how good of a player you are if you can do that. And here, putting up spores, and he's not slowing down on them either. If Major tries to drop that main, that's some dead medevacs right there, or at least some very, very damaged ones. So I love the fact that Snute's adapting to Major. But again, Major, he's playing to his strength here. He's just multitasking continuously. He's trying to get damage done, but
oh, the fungal, and that's going to take out all of the units in this medevac. Really, really unfortunate to get that caught there. And a bunch of Marines now on the creep here. So many Lings coming out here that are upgraded, going to get the full surround. He has to get out of here. Unfortunately, no fungals do come out of Snute. Maybe just not enough energy at this point in time.
But look at these upgrades that are on the way, Valdez. We have Adrenal Glands, Chitinous Plating, 2 Ultralisks on the way. And he hasn't really taken damage either. And what's Major's answer to the Ultralisk? So far, it's double factory Sea Shank. Yes, he's getting 3 more tech labs on barracks, I presume. But dealing with ultras with just Marauder and tank, it's very, very difficult, but it looks like he's trying to get ready for a big push here, which is the correct move. If he can hit before the ultralist count is very, very big, and before Chitinous Plating kicks in, then he can deal damage.
Yeah.
But now, time is of the essence.
Got about 45 seconds here before that does come up, and he's looking to hit that 4th base, it looks like, before that is ready. Only 4 ultras are going to be out on the map.
2-2 is completed. He's got the weapon upgrade, he's got the upgrades here, like, in
This
total.
is the timing, basically.
Right. And look at this tank position too. If they get filed, yes, that sucks. But if these ultras do pop out, Marines can even deal damage to them.
Yeah, they really can. He's got so many Marines out here. He already has the 2-2, like you said, and he's fighting now before the 2-2 is done by the Zerg. We do have 1 Ultra popping out, already taking a lot of damage, and 2-2 is about to finish here with Chitinous Plating on the way as well.
Yeah, if he can deal a lot of damage here, he can possibly kill as many ultras as he can without the upgrades. And yeah, he's fighting without the upgrades. Those ultras are melting. This is a great push by Major.
Yeah, the fungal looked good, but there's just way too many units over here. It doesn't look like Snute has enough to defend this.
Chitinous Plating has kicked in though, but is it too little too late? There are going to be ultras popping out, but most of the army from Snute has died, and these ultras still pack a punch from the low ground here.
Yeah, all these tanks just shelling the ultras. It doesn't matter how much armor they have if they're going against this much firepower. Now a bunch of liberators in the mix. We do, it looks like, have...
they're on the same spot though. They're getting,
One of them does go down. Only 3 Ravagers necessary. And they're going to come around here to get on the back side of these tanks. And a bunch of them are going to go down. Only 1 medevac here to pick up.
Oh man, this was a really good push by Major, but he outstayed his welcome and Snute kicked him out of his house.
Yeah, he really did. And I mean, now Snute still doesn't have that 4th base, but he's got these ultras that are very heavily upgraded. I think he just regroups here and maybe goes for an attack of his own.
Does Major not have a 4th base either?
No, he never took the 4th base.
That is so risky. He was really throwing all his eggs in one basket there, and the damage has, while it's been done, being only 20 supply ahead, and are the 3-3 kicking in here? I really, in fact, he's getting +3 weapons, sure, and Snute, he's not going for his 3-3 just yet, and it is very expensive. These Liberators are being rather annoying here, and gas isn't being mined. Snute is still in a world of trouble. If he gets totally outnumbered and his Infestor count's low and his Ultra count's low, he's still very, very much so behind, despite having Ultras on the field.
Yeah, you can see just Major with 3 drops coming out here, trading really well. The Liberators are still a nuisance, as you were saying, going to deny the gas over here.
Oh man, look at this. Major's such a multitask god right now, dealing damage absolutely everywhere. The Liberators!
All the Liberators are doing all the damage now. Even the Spore gets underneath that 1 Liberator, but it took out 12 drones first. So really getting the damage done. This 1 Liberator is protecting this drop, trying to deny that 4th base, and I'm not sure if that's going to get up.
And look, he saw, he gets in the range of the Spore again. That was a bit of a mistake. But the fact that he anticipated the Spore moving, he's looking everywhere at once, just denying all the larvae here too.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, take a look at the supplies right now, 164 to 105. And even though he does have the Ultras, there's really not much to back it up. And he still does not have a 4th base. So Terran right now, 3 bases. I think he's pretty happy just to trade right now.
He is, and still making tanks, making Liberators, making bio. Not a lot of medevacs with this army, but Snute, he's really trapped in here. He can't get a 4th up. There's going to be a Liberator at every turn, and even when there's not, he's losing bases, he's losing drones. He's had 46 drones here, and even though he's making Ultras, that's great and all, but how are you going to deal with these Liberators?
Yeah, I love this by Major, too. He scans all the bases, and he's like, oh, you don't have a 4th base. Like, obviously, we can see, but Major scans it all, and he recognizes that, and he's like, oh, I can just get my own 4th base, and I'm totally fine here. I can get the perfect composition. I am so far ahead of you right now.
And this wasn't even investment by Major. He just floated over his main once he mined out the main, and I imagine he'll do something similar with his natural too when the time comes. But these Ultras, they're still on only 2 armor upgrades if I'm not mistaken here. So yeah, his upgrades are behind too. So this bio actually deals quite a bit of damage.
And you can see Snute trying to run in here with all of his Ultras, kind of a last-ditch effort. Not going to be enough. All the Liberators joining up and all of these extra tanks getting in there just to get in the fun. GG, well played. That's going to be game number 2, going to Major.
Man, that was a very intense game, and really I thought Snute did a bang-up job of defending and clearing up those Liberators early on, but Major, he knew his timing. It was that tank push. It was what I thought he was going to go for in game 1, but this game he executed it perfectly. Took out the 4th and forced the Zerg to fight him before the Chitinous Plating kicked in, which that is your timing window, and man, he did it so darn well.
Yeah, he really did. think we're not going to go to the analyst's desk here, as we did have that delay before, so we are going to go straight into that third game. No delay here, guys. Stay tuned on the stream. And, man, this series has really picked up. It's been quite fantastic. It's 1-1 right now. This is exactly the kind of even series that we were expecting.
It's an insane series between two really good players, and they're both playing to their strengths. Like I said that in game one. Snute, the methodical defensive guy, likes to get things set up.
Yeah.
Even from his Heart of the Swarm days, where he was a Swarm host player. Like a guy that had his whole playstyle, and in pretty much every matchup, he mastered Swarm host. That's what made him so effective. To have kind of come back and just say, like, hey, he's learned a totally different playstyle. He's learned how to play defensive, but in a different way, and he's still exceptional at it. So,
yeah.
Man, this is like the unstoppable force against like the immovable object. It really is, because Major's just piling on the pressure.
Yeah, it really does look like that. I think that map was definitely a bit harder for the Zerg. Had such a hard time getting that fourth base. And then he kind of gave up and said, okay, I need to get a bunch of tech out. I need these ultras first. And then even when that happened, it seemed like Major just had that one timing to get in there with a 2-2, all the tanks on the low ground. That just looks like a brutal place to fight for a Zerg, especially if you're going for ultras. So Major had a really nice timing for that map. It looked like he really prepared for that one as well. I love what he had prepared for us for that map.
It is one of the better maps for Terran as well, with Liberators, but Snute scouted it so early, and the Liberators, they didn't really get to do much early on. They got scouted, and then one Liberator stayed at home, the other one tried to find Overlords around the map, didn't get anything done, so it wasn't even the best start for Major, actually. That being said, Major's timing was impeccable, actually. The fact that he forced Snute into making a decision. Do I lose my fourth and get further behind? Or do I fight with Ultras and kind of defend this wishy-washy? It just wasn't a nice position for Snute to be put in, but that's StarCraft. You want your opponent to be forced into making a bad choice or a worse choice. And that really is exactly what Major did. It was very smart of him.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the third map is that we're going to get into, but definitely a very interesting third map that we have on the way here.
Just had an update from the other stream as well. Massa did take out Hearthstone 3-1.
3-1, oh boy.
Now, people probably looked at that matchup and, you know, Hearthstone's a name that's been around for a while. Year of Hearthstone is a hashtag that is often
When is
quoted.
the year of Hearthstone, exactly? Like, when is it
It's
going to be
always
this
the
year?
year of Hearthstone, but no, like, really, Massa, he's one of the guys that is very underrated. Whenever you see Massa's score on ladder, and I'll go back to ladder because I do rate players that do well on ladder consistently. When you look at the top 5 of the European ladder, there's names like Nurchio, Major, Showtime, Happy. You know, these guys are up there for a reason because they're consistent and good. But Massa, whenever he plays, he'll have way less games than anybody else. So I don't know what he's doing, but his stats will always be insane. And the fact that that matchup, I think, because Rotty's into gambling, you know, the ratings were like 1.9 to 1.9, like odds. So it was very, very close. But Massa did deal with Hearthstone apparently, so I'm very excited to see what he did there.
Yeah, I can't believe that actually came to fruition there. But guys, we are going to get into game number 3 here on Olreno. What a perfect third map to get into here for this TvZ. And up in the top left, in the red, the Zerg player from Team Liquid, it is Snute. Fortunately, losing that last game there to this guy in the bottom left. In the blue, the Terran player, it is Major.
Now, Olrena, this is the map where crazy things happen. Major is one of the most standard Terran players you'll ever see, but we saw Pol earlier in this tournament do some crazy cheese on this map too, so definitely doable, definitely viable. But here, just looks like he's opting for a Reaper opening. Standard is as standard does.
Take it slow to begin with, I suppose. Just try to get a scout onto Snute, make sure he's not doing anything funky. Snute playing very standard back at home, just going for an expand, and no doubt going to put down that pool here in just a bit.
This is definitely one of the maps I like to 3-racks on a lot. Just because of the middle path, you can block this off with like 3 barracks. And in fact, I've done this against Snute a lot. And he's not the best at dealing with it, but
doesn't deal with the. Maybe you should have sent some of those secrets over to Major. Then he may be hurting for that here.
He didn't offer me any money, you know. Like, he didn't offer me anything, but like no, like this game and this map in particular, games are not normal. They do not plan out normally. If you 2-base as a Terran or 2-base as a Zerg, by all means go for it. In fact, one of the really scary things about this map in particular is this queen drop, this queen ling drop.
Yeah.
It's so scary. If you get a few queens into your opponent's base, those things do not die to Marines whatsoever. And in fact, I've lost against that build even when I know it's coming and I've got like 3 bunkers set up to defend. So, and Snute isn't a guy that's known particularly for cheesing. Neither of these players are, which makes this a really interesting series. Because even vying for a CC on the low ground here, that is rather risky.
It can be risky.
He's gone for a depot here to block off 2.
I think that's very important in the entire build. And the whole point of a map like Arena, you were talking about how crazy and wacky it could get the games on here. It's to change things up, to make it a really interesting game. And even though people say, oh, it's not standard, it might favor one race so far or whatever, but it's just really entertaining. And that's what we're all here to watch.
I don't know a player or a race that is like, oh yeah, Arena, that's really good for me, it's good for my style, because nobody really knows what they're going to go up against. And if you are a bit of a quirky player, you'll work with it because you usually know what your opponent's doing, and then you can wrap your head around it and do something to counter them. But on a map where you don't know what you're going to do, you don't know what your opponent's going to do, you can't do any of the blind countering, the cool shenanigans where you really know how to play against your opponent. And this map, definitely a weird one.
Yeah, well, so far, Snute's sticking on 2 bases. There's a slow queen trying to catch this Reaper, but the Reaper's jumping up here, already getting 1 drone kill, and when you're this low on drones and workers, you can't really afford to be losing too many workers. That goes from 24 to 23 now, and this Reaper's going to get a full scout of the main.
Now, I don't know if this was planned by Snute, but he just produced a good 10 drones all at once. But I don't know if it was a reaction to being like, okay, this Reaper's going to scout me, so I can't do any gimmicky stuff here. I can't produce lots of roaches because he's going to scout it instantly. So his drone count, despite being a little bit ahead here, his mining and his efficiency of mining has definitely been slowed. Siege tanks, medevacs. This is cool. This is cool. And one thing that we've seen from Snute this entire series is Roach Ravager. And what are Roach Ravagers bad at dealing with? Well, if you use speedervacs and tankervacs and such to really chase down those roaches and stuff, limit him to like 2 bases mining, you're in good shape.
Yeah, that's what you always see. Like, even over in Korea, we're talking about the Roach Ravager isn't that popular, but when you do see it, the Terrans always have tanks flying around. They're always trading, just every single game that I've watched. So definitely makes sense for MajOr to not gonna quite get a scout there. I don't believe he saw any lair or anything like that.
I really think MajOr just finds Roach Ravager difficult, because like we saw on the production tab there, he tried to produce a Liberator, he cancelled it, then he tried to produce a Viking. Like what's he really going for here? It really feels that this guy that we know for being a Korean copycat, but like a perfect Korean copycat that's just fixed his mechanics and such, and really like not sped up because he was already insanely fast, but just become way more precise. Snute's definitely playing a style that he's obviously not super comfortable with, which definitely works to Snute's strength here. And the fact that he's mixing up his upgrades and the way that he is playing too, yes, it's Roach Ravager, but how he goes about it in the mid to late game, it is tough for a Terran to deal with.
Yeah, and I wonder how MajOr is going to deal with this Roach Ravager play. Obviously, going to have that. We got the +1 range upgrade here. So far, Snute playing very far back against this 1 tank. Just wants to make sure he doesn't take too much damage from that. Even when you add in a bunch of Ravagers, it's so hard to deal with this. You really just have to deal with the medevac. But even then, it's really hard to get on top of that. You need like 2 or 3 queens to continuously push it away and really discourage the Terran from getting too close.
MajOr here going for a pretty fast third. So this, and he went for a third on the third too. So not worried about any Ling run buys and getting that denied and what have you. Upgrades do start for MajOr. They are a little bit behind his opponent, but that isn't too significant. The only significant thing that could happen with this is a huge timing, but I doubt that's something Snute's going to be going with. He's been playing passive the whole series.
Yeah, I love the fact that MajOr shuts this down, by the way. It is so important for the Zerg to knock down those rocks and get a better angle into attacking the Terran's third base, but as long as you can just park a tank back there, it's really going to be incredibly difficult to take that down.
And using this tank to deny creep, 1 shot is a tumor kill, so 1 shot, 1 kill on those. But one thing that is worrying me a little bit about Snute's play here is that drone production tab just went up to 17 drones at once. So despite getting ahead, imagine if that was like spread out a little bit and a few of them were a little bit earlier, then adding on, because he's been safe for a long time. Like, we can see that MajOr's not really throwing down anything that's going to kill Snute anytime soon. And in fact, he's been very indecisive about how he's going to deal damage. This could be deadly, and I love he used the Viking to clean up the Overlords. Now he has a free, unviewable path into Snute's base here. This could deal damage.
I think the Viking on this map is now just like a standard. You need it to clear out the Overlords in TvZ. It's just so potent, and you could see the effects of it now. All of the units of Snute out of position. Not going to kill too many drones here, but going to get a bunch of these Overlords, in fact, and heavily supply block Snute here.
Oh, and he did focus down all those Overlords there, so a huge, huge supply block. And this, if you're a Terran player and you know you're against a very precise player. Snute isn't a guy that overlords or whatever. He's not like Rhett in the old days where he produced 10 overlords in excess. Snute's a guy that's very precise. So dealing that damage, that allows you to say, hey, there's at least like a 20, 30-second window here where I'm producing units and my opponent isn't even able to. So if he follows this up and continues to put on pressure, I love these spores by Snute, by the way, but this spot here by MajOr, he just flies in there. He's getting behind the mineral line.
He's getting on top of the ramp. That's just so fantastic. He's got a couple of medevacs full of Marines here. Tons of Queens to deal with the medevacs. Yeah, he's just doing a fantastic job trading here. Even that one tank getting really low, but at the same time, another drop coming in at the 4th base.
Great, great, great play. MajOr, he's always like when he does one thing, you're always like, oh man, that's a great move. But it kind of got shut down a little bit here by Snute. But he's doing something else on the other side of the map. So MajOr, he makes TvZ look really, really cool. He plays it in the perfect way that you want to play TvZ. You distract your opponent in one place and you deal damage in another.
Non-stop harass, non-stop aggression, and it's really working out for him. And now he's taking a little bit of a not a great fight there in the middle. I think he did save that one tank, but at the same time, another drop coming in at the 3rd base, trying to distract those units, as you were saying, just trying to trade once again, lure these units into the tank line in the middle of the map.
And MajOr, he's very, very free on his side of the map, and he does go about producing a 4th CC here, so I love this. He's denied the 4th of Snute, and realistically, what 4th can Snute take? It's only that one. The other one's too close to the middle of the map.
Unless you want to hide one somewhere in the bottom corners, or if you want to take the middle base in the left side, which nobody has ever taken. I've never seen that ever. Muslim.
If you want to be cheeky and cheesy, but I don't think you're going to be able to get away with that against MajOr. And here, he's just waiting. And these upgrades are super sick for Snute. In fact, he's going to be hitting 3-3. He started his 3-3 before MajOr's even halfway through his 2-2. So that is sick upgrade timing. It's nice that he brought an army over here to deny the medevacs. And he even threw up a spy at this point. So very much reminiscent of game 1 here, but
going straight into that Greater Spire, but he's not going to have quite the same amount of mining that he had in that game 1. This is not nearly the same amount of space that Laralac Crest gives to you.
No, and MajOr, he's strangling Snute at this point. The economy isn't the best for him. And MajOr, he's not giving Snute any time. He's producing Liberators at this point. He's adding the extra barracks now. I really love how he's playing.
I love the spores, by the way. You were talking about this before. You just really need them against the guy who's just going to continuously drop you like this. Somehow, some way, MajOr does find a small angle here, picks off 5 drones, and at the same time, looks like he canceled that 4th base, or he's looking to do it now.
MajOr is so persistent, man. This is great play by him. He's not giving Snute any time, and if you're on 3 bases, whereas this is Legacy of the Void, his main's got to be mining out or even somewhat close. He's got 2 starports ready as well, and he gets to see all of this. He gets to see, if he clicks on any of those units, he gets to see the tech structures, or rather the tech upgrade, so he knows it's not going to be a super ultralisk switch, and given that the game 1 happened in the way that he did, he's getting those air upgrades. He's getting 4 Liberators at a time, Valdez.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot more prepared for this, and he's easily taking a 4th base. So now we've got a 4-base Terran against a 3-base Zerg who's trying to go Broodlords on 6 gas.
Look at this too. He's just pushing ahead wherever he can, trying to deal damage, and this army might get shut down. And these, but the tank also
that one tank. And look at this, just a small group of Marines coming in here, easily going to be able to trade with some of these units. I would love if the Liberators would just reposition slightly to help out, but looking elsewhere, trying to drop that 4th base at the same time, I suppose.
Snute's under so much pressure here, and with 4 Liberators out at a time, this is getting really dicey, but 6 Broodlords, where are they morphing in? This is a big, big, big deal if they are not scouted anytime soon.
Where exactly are those Broodlords? Well, there they are at the 3rd base, getting a zoom in there.
But did he morph in too many? Because he's going to be able to deal with the ground army, sure, to some extent, but it's the Liberators going to have to worry about, because that's 9 on the field.
Yeah, he needs a lot more Corruptors in the sky, I suppose, or just more Fungal, something to deal with the Liberators in the sky. He's at least going to push the Terran back for now.
Those Corrosive Biles. And Corruptors are actually very good against Liberators in equal numbers, but as soon as those Liberators start getting sick upgrades and the Liberator count starts spiraling out of control, you're talking about 12 plus, those Corruptors melt. And at this point, Snute, he wants to deal damage. He wants to slow down Major. Nice little pick up there, but...
Yeah, and think about the timing of the Spire as well. Snute has no upgrades to his air, so the Corruptors could be going against +1 for now, could be +2 on the way with how much he is committing to these air units.
Major's just... He's relentless, man. This 4th base, it's finally up, I do believe. Man, the fact that these Liberators kind of run around uncontested here.
Some Fungals getting down here, trying to just use the Fungal into Corrosive Bile, not moving the Liberators. Unfortunately, not enough Corrosive Biles up at the moment, or that would have been 3 free Liberators. Only spending some energy for that.
I'm a little surprised that the Vikings haven't started to be produced, purely because Vikings deal with Corruptors and Broodlords very, very well, and trying to stop these Broodlords from getting killed by Vikings at this point in time, all he has to stop it is Biles with the Fungals. But if you spread out your Vikings really, really well, they're a cheap enough unit that sacrificing them at this point, the fact that Major's also expanding to a 5th base here and could potentially get 6th and 7th, because what can Snute do? He can't cross the map.
Yeah, not really. I suppose he's just going to slowly do what he did in game number 1 with just less space. I love this, by the way. He's pulled a lot of the Ravagers and Infestors up towards the 4th base and just swings by for a couple of Queen kills and then just backs off.
One thing I'd love to see is the range upgrade on the Liberators. Because the one thing that one way that he's losing his Liberators at this point in time, it's not really the Corruptors, it's the Biles every time. But if you make it so these Ravagers can't get in range of your Liberators, man, it's going to deal a lot of damage. And we talked about that huge clean space, that airspace that is not occupied.
It's still clean.
Yeah.
There's nothing to spot this for Snute. And that's a gigantic drop, and at the same time, he's trying to distract here. He's pulling all of the units of Snute up towards that 4th base, and here we go! The giant Doom drop into the main.
And look, he's going to position these Liberators at the top of this ramp, and how are any units going to be able to get up here? I'm surprised that he doesn't position... There we go, a few more Liberators. Oh, the Viper pulls though! This is a good play by Snute, but how does he get up this ramp? He can't get up the ramp!
He's just going to try to throw some infested Terrans up there and get some Fungals, and at the same time, a small group of like 4 Marauders killing 14 drones at the 4th base. Major really pulling apart Snute here.
And look, he's trying with everything he can to get up this ramp. And in fact, he's dealing with a lot of these Liberators here, and Major doesn't actually kill the hatchery, or even the hive. Deals with a lot of drones at this base, so the fight, in effect, he is trading decently, purely because Snute's behind economically, but...
Snute is supply blocked right now. Look at how many minerals and gas he's floating. He just can't make units. No. I mean, I assume he's got the larva, but just really struggling to get that out here. Finally getting a big swell of Overlords, but I assume a lot of those went down in the big fight in the main.
They did. I believe he kind of fired, killing those. Oh, and the drop is
boy,
back.
here those hive goes down as well as the infestation pit. So that's going to be a huge amount of tech that just went down in the main of Snute. And
that was decent, though. He did get one of the medevacs with quite a few units in. And Snute, he does have a lot of minerals and a lot of gas to spend, but what do you spend it on at this point in time? Trying to get a lair back, trying to expand more, but Major's there waiting.
Yeah, you're not going to be getting a 5th base anytime soon. Meanwhile, Major taking number 5 and number 6 pretty easily there. Snute has really had no time at all to deal with that. He's just been defending the entire game.
I'm still so surprised at no range upgrade here. That would help so much.
Yeah, like, with how many Liberators you're building, I mean, this is, you need it.
You do.
Why wouldn't you get it? You know, it's just going to be so useful to you and definitely worth the investment, especially with how much he's mining.
Yeah, all it takes is an extra starport, which, hey, that'll come in handy anyway. But also just making a tech lab on it and a fusion core. It is an investment, but it's an investment that makes your Liberators go from, hey, I'm pretty imbalanced to, okay, I've won this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, we saw that in some of those Marine Lord versus Puck games, that's for sure.
It's such a good upgrade at this point in time. The only thing that he has to deal with these units are, hey, yes, Vipers, sure, Corruptors, yes, sure. But the main thing is the Bile here. So if he can just remove Bile from the equation, things get insanely hard. If you start camping behind these mineral lines in that huge airspace, with more Liberators and more Vikings behind to support, that's no mining going down for Snute.
And look at this. So many Vipers in the mix now. Not sure what he's going to use it for. Maybe Blinding Cloud. There's not much here. Just some Fungals coming down and really nice splits here. Oh, he's got to split up those Liberators. He's taking so much damage, and now the Fungals are coming down. Those Liberators are melting here.
Whoa, Snute, for the first time in a long time, he's ahead in supply here. And this seems to be the moral of the story. A drop going on. Of course, Major's dropping him and killing tech structures left, right, and center, but man, Snute does well in these big army battles.
There's still no Vikings on the map. He's just refused to make Vikings. He's like, well, after that first game, I'm just not going to make Vikings. And this is very reminiscent of game number 1. We've been talking about it throughout the entire game.
Valdez.
I think Snute just pushes and eventually wins after defending for like 10 minutes.
He has 200 supply now. How? What?
How has this happened to Muslim?
Like, sure, Major's been denying bases, but man, he hasn't built up an army that can deal with this army.
Yeah, he really hasn't. He has no air control
And
at this
look at
point.
this.
Nothing to deal with the Broodlords.
There's
And
enough
just a slow push. He's trying to come in here and snipe some of the Infestors, and he does do it, but there's nothing to deal with this army.
Yeah, that's great and all. You kill the Infestors, but how are you going to deal with these Corruptors
Doesn't
and
matter.
Broodlords? Like, look at the amount of Ravagers, too. That isn't just a small, like, yeah, I'll deal with them later. No, that's enough Ravagers to take you out, and he's losing bases here. The new spell of the Corruptors, too, taking out bases. Major, despite being all over Snute for this entire game, Snute just gets one big army together and manages to maul his opponent with just superior control in the big army battles. And I really believe that Liberator lack of upgrade really cost Major this game.
Yeah, that definitely is part of it, and Snute really just swinging the hammer, now finally getting the chance to do so. And just a little bit of bile left over here. The corrosive biles landing on all of those Liberators, and there's really nothing left here for Major. That should be the end of game number 3 here.
That feeling where your supply doesn't go down. In fact, GG is called.
GG. Snute is going to take game number 3 here with another really drawn-out defensive game out of him that just eventually turned over to his win.
This is often what happens with Major, in fact. The first 90 to 95% of Major's play, it's exceptional, but what he lacks is that last little bit, that last percentage where it's like, okay, if you had Liberator range upgrade and you took the high ground in the main, for example, trying to get Fungals or Blinding Clouds or anything on those Liberators with the extended range, running up that ramp, it would not be done. You'd lose your whole main. With that going on, his next wave of units, he just drops somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, goes into the fourth base, the fifth base. We saw some of that, but the main drop was not effective enough.
And do you know what else could have happened? Like, after taking out the main, which he would have done with Liberator range upgrade, you get all your Liberators, you fly up, you go down and plant behind a base.
Yeah.
The only thing you can deal with those Liberators is the Corruptors, which you cannot then afford at that point. Whereas you pick up all your units in the main, you just fly down and you get away scot-free. So there's so many things that could have been done there by Major, but just, I really don't understand the fact that he's just skipping out on that range upgrade. It could do so much for him.
Well, guys, pretty unbelievable games down here. We've had a blast so far, but we are going to take a quick break for about 10 minutes. We'll be right back with more games here. Game number 4 between Major and Snute.
If your PC is dated and tests your nerves more than your skills, is it time for a new one? Get the Intel Extreme Masters Limited Edition PC, built with the same components that the pros play on at the Intel Extreme Masters. Money from every certified PC bought goes to the Intel Extreme Masters prize purse. Only in the best stores in your region. They come with a certificate and a unique holographic sticker. Play like the best and support esports with the new limited edition Intel Extreme Masters PCs based on Intel Core processors.
Welcome back, everybody, to the WCS Winter Championship here at IEM Katowice. We've had an unbelievable series so far. It is 2-1 right now, Snute over MajOr, and every game has been a bloodbath. Just MajOr trying desperately to kill Snute, but failing to do so in a couple of these ones.
Yeah, the same story has been like going on throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
It's been Snute it's been Snute taking absolutely everything that MajOr's thrown at him, and it's whether he weathers the storm or not that is MajOr. And in a few of these games, especially that last one, I really thought MajOr was doing everything correct and was really slapping around Snute, but Snute managed to just get this full army together, and then in one engagement, it all turned around for the worse for MajOr. But whoa, okay, these positions on this map, this could get dicey.
Yeah, here we go again. Down in the bottom left in the red, the Zerg player from Team Liquid, it is Snute. Looking ready to go here. Had a nice game before, and up in the top left in the blue, the Terran player, it is MajOr.
Yeah, man, I love it when players that don't do crazy stuff, like they're known for just being these methodical, macro players, they whip out something absolutely crazy, and this is one of the maps where you can do that.
Is this his time, Muslim? Is this where he goes for it?
Okay, when you see a player that's been going Hellion openings every game, and you get these positions, what are Hellions bad against? They're really bad against Queens, so the ability to Queen drop on this map, especially in these positions, it can deal a lot of damage / instant win. So if Snute was to win a series with that, and beautiful SCV scout, by the way. So he doesn't even have to run around the map with an SCV. He went and scouted there for the Overlord.
Yeah, I really don't see too many players doing that on this map specifically, but it's so useful to do that, as you were mentioning.
And now Snute, if he didn't get scouted by their SCV, he'd have just kept out of vision and kept his opponent guessing. But the fact that they both scouted each other straight away, they both know where the other one is, this means strategies can change almost immediately.
Yeah, the Reaper's going to get directly over to the Zerg base, and of course that Overlord is going to get into a nice spot in the back left of the base, so can be a bit harder to deny the scouts a little bit later on. You were talking about if he didn't get scouted, he would keep it below the base, but it might have been harder to get that scout, as MajOr might have been expecting the Overlord to come from there once he did scout the Zerg, but now he's going to get a nice little position over there. Just a small little thing that Snute will be happy about.
I'm so curious as to what both players will be doing here. So MajOr, he's going for that Marine before he gets the reactor down, which I always like this play. It means he can start denying those Overlords. And Ruins of Ceres, you've got an extremely tight little base too. So Overlords, there's only a few ways you can get into that main base, but if you have a Marine patrolling, it means denying those sight on those tech structures is very, very vital. Where do you put the tech lab? If you get a tech lab at all, if you get a third base very, very early. We see here that the second gas does go down for MajOr, which means that he is probably going to be applying the pressure, but the question is with what? The air distance is very, very close between these two guys, so getting in and dealing damage very, very quickly happens much faster on this map than others.
Yeah, could try to go for a fast Liberator. We've been seeing him do some pretty crazy builds. One where he went for Banshees in the first game, tried to get some damage there with the Cloak. Second game, not so much, but then he went into, or no, was it the second game that he did go for the Reactor Liberators?
On Dust Towers?
Yeah, that was the game, right? So definitely has been focusing a bit on some of these games where he does get out a lot of these harassing units from the starport, and wouldn't be surprised to see him do more of that again. As I was saying, from what I studied from his VODs, it seemed like he really loved his Hellions, his Widowmines, but also his Liberators.
Certainly. Now, double Widowmine being produced. Does he have any Hellions on the map?
Yeah, he's got a couple.
So 2 Hellions, 2 Widowmines, and he's going to drop those Widowmines for sure, but is he going to drop them with anything? Widowmines against Zerg rather than against Terran. The Widowmine splash actually kills workers, so in this matchup, getting in these positions as well, you can deal damage so much quicker. So most of your timings where it's like, okay, by minute 4:53, he's going to attack me, but the timings totally change on this map. Everything has to be done a good 20 seconds faster. So here, this Widowmine drop, I love this. Does he have the Watchtower available? The site? Or is this... No, this is getting in uncontested here.
This is getting in, and Snute doesn't have anything in the main. He's got a Spore coming down now. Maybe he was expecting some Liberators, but this is a drop of 2 Widowmines and 3 Marines. He's got 1 Queen to defend against this. And just 1 Widowmine just going to drop down here, and he's going to go straight for the natural, in fact.
Oh, this Widowmine placement, though, this isn't where you want to have it. You want it to deal damage to the drones. You want to force a Spore Crawler being made. So while this Widowmine didn't deal much, neither did this one. They did force out Spores. So even though there's only 1 drone killed there, it's also 2 drones that turned into Spores. And now the Hellions running in.
Yeah, look at this. There's only Lings to defend against this. The Queens are busy in the main. Unfortunately, not microing those and getting surrounded a bit there. Still 3 Alive. Another one does go down. But 2 Hellions can eventually do some damage here. They line them up. Lining them up. We got 2. Oh, that Widowmine does go down as well. Not quite getting the hits here, though, on the drones that he wanted, and it eventually does get totally cleaned up. And we got a Nidus on the way.
Oh my, did he click on that? I don't believe...
I'm not sure if he clicked on that.
It was there,
he's got tanks on the way, he's got Stim here about to finish,
and
2 bunkers coming down, so I think he does know about this.
Okay, then he definitely clicked on it. That is actually, despite all the chaos going on, like trying to kill drones, despite everything that was going on there, such chaos, he had the foresight to say, hey, I need to click on that building. Like, it's a building. You could think, like, hey, is it an Evo? Is it a Roach Warren? But he's already seen the Roach Warren, so here, he's prepared for this. And this is a really cute response by MajOr. He's pulling a lot of workers here.
Yeah, he should be able to defend this, trying to get the big surround and focus this down. There's nothing coming out of it. Snoot's kind of just given up on this.
In fact, what a great move by Snute. So he got scouted out, and he saw that MajOr massively overcommitted, but look at the mining. For a 100-100 commitment to making that Nidus right there and then.
Yeah, look at this. He's not even responding to this. Now he just unloads over here. I'm not even sure if he noticed that.
Creep spread going down. This is gnarly. So creep spread happening this close to your opponent's base. Yeah, he can't really kill his opponent, I don't believe, from this position, but creep spreading from here, and MajOr just wasted a lot of Marines. This is sick play by Snute.
This is such a funny build, but I'm glad we're getting to watch this in action. A couple of corrosive piles coming down onto that Liberator, and it goes down. MajOr not moving that at all.
Do you know what I love about this? I talked about, like, I'd love to see Snute do something crazy in these positions. And guess what? He's freaking doing it, man. Like, he's got creep tumors in his natural. How is he going to get a third up? If he keeps on spreading these creep tumors on his side of the map, things are going to get ridiculously hard, because I think worker count, I think Snute's actually...
I would love to see the worker count, actually. He's 52 on 3 bases. He's totally fine. This is just some pressure. He's like, okay, if this doesn't work, whatever. And he's got his number here. There's 1 bunker and a couple of tanks. There's just so many roaches coming out now, and only 2 tanks with no support.
That was great tank micro, but this is a hell of a lot of Snute, and he's pushing in here. The SCVs are dying. The tanks,
whoa,
1 down. And only 2 left here. He's being pushed out of his own natural.
Yeah, really cute micro here on the tanks, but I don't think it's gonna matter. Look at this scan. He's like, you have that many drones at your 3rd base? Are you serious?
Oh,
that's gotta be it.
Lord.
He's down 50 supply now, and he's still barely mining from his natural.
Yeah, like Major's holding on as best as he can here, but the supplies speak for themselves. 108 against 58, and Snute. He's just spreading creep, man. Continuously spreading creep. This is sick play by Snute, and this is something you don't expect out of the Norwegian either.
And look at this. He's putting up a bunch of spores in his main just in case. He's like, okay, if you want to go for some kind of doom drop base trade, I'll be ready for that too. I'll be ready for anything that you would want to go for.
That is such a mastermind move too, where you're thinking steps ahead, and he's not going to get punished anytime soon. I wouldn't even be surprised if he starts sticking a Nidus in the main sometime. He's dealt the damage he needed to do. He doesn't need to commit super hard. And 3 tanks, honestly, that's quite hard to push into. There's only 1 medevac available, so if he gets on top of those tanks, he is going to kill them, and Major's very worried about that.
Here come the corrosive biles, a nice pickup there, but more coming down here. That 1 tank getting very low, but all these SCVs fighting it. Oh, the tank does go down, and just 4 Marines coming out here to fight. Major holding on for dear life. The natural orbital right now is below half health, and he's barely even mining from that natural now.
You know what? I counted Snute out of this when this series first started, but man.
Well, didn't we all, the Muslim?
He has done so well here. And look, he's even going to, is he going to get this natural as well? It is falling very low. This is so many queens here. Even trying to clean up this army, all transfuse itself.
8 queens. 8 queens. That's just enough. You know, even if you do lift that orbital, you're going to be doing tons of damage to it. You're just going to have never-ending transfuses to your units.
And do you know what was beautiful about this too? Like, Snute paid attention to the builds that Major was doing. He was going for Hellions every time. And if you make a reactor on the factory, I've talked with Firecake about this in the past, and it's, if you see a reactor going down on that factory and he's producing Hellions, you Nidus the guy.
Yeah, and he finally took out the medevac, and I think that should be the nail in the coffin. No more micro on these tanks. We do have more SCVs pulled here trying to get the repairs, but he does snipe the second to last tank. And at this point, the only thing that Major can afford is Marines. 5 Marines coming out at a time. Even if this Nidus does eventually get pushed back, Snute is miles ahead.
Oh man, and another Nidus going down outside the base this time though. He's going to try and clean up that last tumor. In fact, goes straight for the Nidus win, which is a nice little pick-off, but 54 supply against 119.
Yeah, unfortunately no transfuses do come out there on the Nidus, but Snute, he's got upgrades coming. He's got a 4th base. Major is just barely holding on to his natural. Looks like he will eventually push this back, but another Nidus coming out here. Bunch of roaches now going to be able to trade easily against that. He could just put down another Nidus, and look at all this creep still. Still spreading that down on the low ground.
And a 4th base. Like, this is totally unnecessary, but I love it.
It's like just in case.
Secure your lead, and throws down another Nidus here. And is it going to stay up? No, it's still not going to stay up. So Major's doing everything he can to deny the Nidus is outside his base, but man, too little, too late at this point. And he's microing his little heart out, but no matter how much Zerg he kills, it just seems there's so much more behind every wave.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive, I have to say.
Oh, spreading creep in your vision. Another Nidus worm in your natural. Oh my lord. I love it by Snute.
Yeah. It's been impressive how long Major has held on, but I think this should be the final blow. All of these SCVs. GG, Snute is going to take it 3-1, and look at him.
Relief.
He must be so happy after taking this one. He knows how hard of an opponent Major was, and he did it, man. He deserved that win. Taking it 3-1. Unbelievable play from that Zerg player.
Man, like, if there's any... Yeah, Snute deserves that win. Like, Major, honestly, either one of these players going out is sad for them, but whoever made it through, whoever beat the other, really deserved it. And Snute, the fact that he did something that he's so not known for doing, which is kind of cheesy, but it was beautifully done.
It was
Nidus
perfect,
in the
just
main,
the timing of it all.
Yeah, the Nidus in the main, I thought it was kind of fake. Like, he pulled all the SCVs, and it was like, oh, you actually benefited from that, because he wasn't mining for a long time. But then he's like, actually, I am really going to Nidus you.
This is like a distracting Nidus, you know? Major did not see that second Nidus, or he just chose to ignore it. He's like, I've got enough tanks
Even
to
if he
hold
did
back
see
there.
it, Valdez, that thing's invulnerable, you know? It's going to get up one way or the other, you know?
Yeah.
But
Either way, that was a pretty unbelievable series, and I think we're going to throw it straight over to the analyst desk once again. So take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, Valdez and DeMuslim. Awesome commentary by the both of you, and an awesome victory there for Snute. Takes out 3-1 over MajOr. MajOr fought his heart out, and I can't help but feel I was watching the Orena game very, very closely. That was a very highly contested match, but overall it is Snute.
I actually really thought that MajOr was winning on Lerolec, and I also thought he was winning on Arena.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Nate will chip in right
Oh,
here.
I don't think you
dang.
want. I don't think you want to hear my opinions on those games, man.
I think those games were very close. I mean,
Yeah,
the last
those-
game, maybe he was just not that sharp anymore because he reacted very well to the 90s in the main, but that one was kind of a fake. And
I
then there
just
was
think
another one.
that game on Arena where the Zerg he knew exactly how he had to perfectly execute those units and just really make that punctual attack while down 17 bases to just to go ahead and just to just
And
play so well.
It's a risky call as well to go for the Ultralisk in
He
that
had
phase in
so
the game.
much risk. He had so much risk.
Honestly, I'm just so glad that we got rid of that awful Seeker missile that could be dodged, and now you just click on the Vikings 3 times and they all die within 3 seconds. That's my favorite part.
It saves time.
It's getting a little late over here. The salt is flowing.
Yeah.
Salt will not be flowing, hopefully, over on the couch area, because that is a good victory for Snute, and obviously a very relieved Snute. Red Eye, I know you're there.
Absolutely, Sean, I am here, and we have Liquid Snute, Victor against MajOr. Snute, congratulations, first of all. Tough draw. When you get MajOr in the draw, it's always a bit of a worry, because you know how well he can play. So how did you approach the game?
I tried to study his playstyle on the ladder. Like right now he's rank 1 in Europe, so he's doing really well, and I think his win rate versus Zerg was also close to 80%.
Yeah.
And CVT historically has been my weakest matchup, so I was not feeling confident at all going into this. But I knew that he was likely to stick on lots of low-tech like siege tanks and not exactly using the ghost style that Happy uses a lot. So I felt very comfortable just trying to go for a long game, because I had a feeling that that would be a good approach.
You were a bit nervous going into the game, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously a little bit less nervous now because you've won and it's a bit of a relief, I guess. But so how do you cope with that? Do you talk to Dario? Do you talk to Patrick? What is your process to get through those nerves?
I feel like when I played right now, the nerves were there. I could feel my heartbeat being like unreasonably high, and I just tried to breathe. And I haven't really been this nervous since I was 2-0 up against Hero at IEM San Jose. So playing this match didn't feel very great, but I'm relieved now that it's over.
Okay. What do you put that down to? What's been the change for you?
Just that CVT is different now. I'm able to play a slower style, which favors me a bit. Lingbane Muta it used to be one of my favorite styles to play. Like, I enjoyed CVT despite not being that great at the matchup. But in Legacy of the Void, I feel like it kind of has lost its power. Like, you need to be extremely on point with the execution, and I haven't been able to reach a level like that with Lingbane Muta. So I explored like this Roach Ravager Infestor style, and then into Broodlords, and I think it's one of the better ways to play.
You've always been very open. I always admired that about you, that you've written blogs on Liquid before about when you've gone through a rough patch and how terrible practice is and everything. And I think it's great that we get that kind of sense from you about where you are. And I do get a sense that you're less confident right now for whatever reason. So how do you get around this now? Because you're in the round of 16. You're as good a shot as anyone that's got in the tournament.
Yeah, well, I've never been confident at all, pretty much. There was a time in 2014 when I was improving a lot, and I had some confidence back then, but it fades like really fast. So
I think Maynard will agree with me on this. At one point, you were probably the best foreign player out there.
If anyone
Widely
told me
regarded.
that Snute wasn't the best foreign player for a lot of 2014, I hit them in the mouth, Snute.
Yeah.
Jens, that's how much I love you, man.
At least outside of WCS, like the main events, I did pretty well when I could play against Koreans and such. But yeah, I just try to focus at one thing at a time, even if I'm very nervous, that doesn't really affect my skill like too much. Even if you're nervous or even if you have a bad mindset, you can still play very well. So I just try to play one game at a time and try to prepare.
Okay, Massa's next. What do you make of it?
Massa? Okay. Well, it's another CVT, so can't complain, I guess.
Do you feel like Masa is scarier than MajOr though, coming into that game?
I feel like MajOr, I've seen him play so much better than this in practice. I think maybe he was a bit nervous. Masa, I haven't played him since Heart of the Swarm. Maybe on a barcode, but I haven't actually played against him, so that's going to be exciting.
Well, best of luck in the round of 16. Snute is safely through to that round of 16. Sean, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Red Eye. Oh, that was a little bit too squeaky there. A little bit too excited. Squeaky.
It happens to all of us, Sean.
It does.
Actually, it doesn't.
Just some of us.
I'm a little bit concerned about the mental health of Team Liquid. I feel like, I don't know what Victor Goosens is doing with these boys, but he's like, good job on the win, but don't feel too good about your shit. He's like, I'm sorry, Victor. No,
but yeah,
they're just all so morose, man.
It's not good to hear that type of confidence levels.
TLO is cheerful today.
Can you imagine piling all
he
these
hasn't
guys?
played StarCraft yet.
As a team, they've won $18,000 between 3 of them, and 1 Team Liquid guy lost of the 4. Like, that's incredible, I believe. Put them in a room and be like, guys, you just won globs of money. They'd be like, yeah, it's the least we can do.
But that leads us into our next interview, which we'll go to in a quick second as Massa gets set up. He took a great victory against Hearthstone. You watched the games, Roddy.
Yep.
3-1. Well done for him.
Yeah, I mean, the first game was pretty convincing for Hearthstone. We already went over it. The second one was a close victory for Masa, and then game number 3, that was a very fair, straight-up game, Dust Towers, where it just came down to late-game army control, and he had everything, man. He had the Widow Mines, he had the Liberators, and above all, he had Ghosts that hit EMPs, not only on High Templars, but also the Immortals, and you know, he just won 4.5 base against 4.5 base, or like 5 base. He just completely wiped the army of Hearthstone. And then in the last game, he went full cheeky Kalares with like
he didn't.
Gasless 3 racks, proxy 2 barracks outside of his main base.
Well,
So ran him across the map and he slid those Marines right into those bunkers.
With another Protoss falling to yet another Terran, I mean, the inevitable question must arise. Do we need to nerf Terran probably again?
I really think it's not up to me, but maybe to the man on the couch to answer that question.
That is right. Red Eye, where are you? You're there, aren't you?
Right here, Sean. Right here.
I'm literally right
Right
here.
here. Literally spot on, Jeff. Literally right here.
You with Massa, surely?
I am with Massa. Thanks very much, gents. As ever, the funny boys on the desk. I am with Massa. Congratulations. A superb victory.
Thank you.
We've already had a little bit of a chin wag, because like a bit of proxying as well. And the final game, you decided to have a bit of fun.
Yeah, just
I said bomber style, and you sort of went Massa style.
yeah, with the metagame.
Yeah.
Nobody really do metagame nowadays, so yeah, let's make it
And
Massa
you were
style.
also, and when you came over, I said to you, oh, you must be like really happy. It's a really big win, 3-1 against Hearthstone, it's great. And you were like, could have been 3-0.
Well, it's because the build I expected to win, but his build was really safe, and it was like kind of countering my build, so I was really nervous. And I did the same build in the second game, and he had the lead, but he missed microed a little bit in the engagement. That's the only reason why I won. So if that didn't happen, it could have been like 3-0. I could have gotten 3-0'd. So yeah.
It's a great win for you as well. I mean, I know a lot of people were looking at that matchup thinking, maybe Hearthstone wins this game. Maybe we don't really know what Massa's shape's like right now. So what did you put into the preparation coming into the game?
Well, that is the thing. Nobody knows how I play, and I didn't really know how Hearthstone played, but I think it's my advantage because nobody really knows how I play, like Snute said, and I've never versed him against Sinsec Hots as well. So that was like my main goal, just to be sneaky and not let them know how I play, and this worked great against Hearthstone. Yeah.
Do you agree with Huck? Huck was here earlier on, and he said that Europeans tend to underestimate North American players that play on the North American ladder. Do you agree with that?
Maybe, but that's because not a lot of NA players play on EU ladder. So, say if I played, I would have gotten top 16, and maybe they wouldn't say that.
Maybe. Yeah, it's a good point. MajOr, any questions?
Well, I mean, being one of the, I guess, one of the players in this round of 32 that fly under the radar, which I guess would be very tough to do with this bracket looking the way it does, all those big names. How do you feel coming up against someone as well known as Snute, someone that you know, I mean, would have had plenty of resources to study and that sort of thing?
Yeah, first of all, it's good that he just played TvZ, and I know some of his style, and he should be worried because he doesn't know how I play, like I said. So for that, I think I have a lead against him. So I'm kind of nervous, but not that nervous now.
You seem like you got a bit of resolution, a bit of that steely gaze going on there, going up against Snute. It's good confidence builder.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. Well, congratulations. And
you.
we will see you in the next round of 16. Massa's safely through, flying the North American flags, of course, for North America. We've got one more game still to come tonight. And, of course, tomorrow, don't forget, we'll move on to the round of 16 and then the quarters and the semi-finals and the final played in the Spodek Arena. We're really looking forward to that on Saturday, of course. So make sure you stay with us for our final game of the day in the WCS Circuit Winter Championship.
If your PC